Yeah.
I think I'll ask him that too.
That was the most bizarre.
You know, he'll wait a week and a half or so and then write
That's
a
about a page.
5-paragraph rant.
You
Are
on?
we good?
Yes.
No, but.
Hey, Brian!
Okay. We're gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order, running a little late. It is Tuesday, November 29th, 2022. Please stand for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Born and unborn.
Okay.
See that? You stepped in front of the camera.
Miss, hold down, please.
Sir?
Down in front.
Minutes and reports received and filed.
We don't have any.
Okay. Commissioner Committee Liaison Reports, upcoming meetings.
Well, if I'm gonna go through till next Tuesday, we can just skip this tomorrow then. Got Cole County Extension meeting Thursday, Eastside Business Association Friday. There's a parade, JC Christmas Parade Saturday evening.
4:30.
Is it 4:30?
4:30.
Okay. And that's about it till next Tuesday then.
My calendar has a West Side Business Association meeting on Thursday. The Lions bell ringing for me is on Friday. Living,
I'm at 9 a.m.
I'm in the afternoon. Let's see. Living Windows, did you say that? That's
Yeah,
Friday,
6 to 9.
Christmas parade. On Monday, the Goldschmidt Surgery Center dedication.
Yep. Tonight I got a National Guard Zoom. Tomorrow we can all go to the mayor's Christmas tree lighting in the evening. Bell ringing. I've got the Chamber Leadership Forum Friday. Boy Scout Troop 11 is doing spaghetti dinner at the First Baptist Church. And I have to buy 20 tickets, so anybody that wants spaghetti, see me. Living Windows. Yeah, Monday night, the Board of Governors, Cap Region, viewing the new thing. So that's all I've got.
Sir,
Yes.
Thursday also is the, is it Thursday?
That's
The
supposed-
30th, we walk through the power plunge. We do the walkthrough for Special Olympics, walking through the hazmat showers.
And temperature's supposed to drop tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
This afternoon.
Yeah, tomorrow is when we go through there. Boy, you're gonna need to be there for me to give me a shot, so.
It's a good thing.
Oh, that's right, I forgot. Thank you for volunteering.
Voluntold.
Well, do you have our emergency management director going through as
Luke
well?
also volunteered, he did. It was amazing, those guys volunteered after I put it in the.
What, do you threatened to throw him in jail?
I just sent out an email, said thank you for participating, and they just went.
Yeah,
right
if
along.
everybody wants to go see the sheriff and the mayor go through, I don't know if she's wearing one of her bikinis or not, but.
I'll be probably what I have on right now.
Okay. Okay, we gotta keep moving. Commission comments, bids and contracts, and the unfinished business. Okay. New business, accounts payable review.
I'd ask for approval of accounts payable pending review.
Motion to approve accounts payable pending review.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And we're gonna postpone the state ARPA grant for law enforcement to tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Signing of the Missouri Department of Medical Transportation Provider Agreement.
Yep, so this is just a agreement that allows us to transfer funds back to the state. Every year we apply for reimbursement of non-recovered costs of our medical transports. They issue a number. The state keeps a portion of that. A portion of it goes to our consultants for preparing the report. So the cost report is done. They just need a signed agreement saying that the state can keep their portion of the funds that come back to us. sent y'all a little email last week that outlined what our payment was going to be and some reasoning behind it. So I just ask that we approve this agreement to allow them to withhold their portion of the funds.
I'm good.
I'll make a motion to sign the Missouri Department of Medical Transportation Provider Agreement as explained by Chief Hoy.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So have we filled up one ambulance now?
Well, the Schmidts filled up an ambulance by themselves.
Yeah.
So we're down to a couple.
Yeah, okay, well, yeah. We just need to keep reminding everybody to bring toys to you or.
Yes.
Okay,
Please continue to donate toys. Much appreciated.
okay. So we are to budget hearings and I see the boys from Public Works are here. Director Eric Landwehr.
Okay.
Do you want to go in any particular order, or how do you want to?
So, Mark, I have some handouts for you all, and I got plenty. I gave the commissioner some. They got an email as well. She,
Yeah, we'll keep one for
Okay.
all of this stuff.
And Mark, just so you know it, Kristen always would tell us what page we're going to.
You want to help me out?
I'm just trying to break him in.
Debbie, did you email us the list that we're going through?
Page 90, 93.
It's on the agenda, but I can.
Oh, no, that's fine. I've got it. If it's on the agenda, I'll just pull it up.
I have page numbers next to this card.
Yeah.
Hey, look at
Oh,
that.
you do? No, you don't on mine.
No, she's got it handwritten on hers.
I can,
I didn't know where it was.
I can go over there. I'd actually rather be over there.
it's the most wonderful time of year.
I found it.
I thought Dawn was gonna stay, so. I'll go there.
I agree.
Where are you sitting?
That's probably pretty stale.
I'm gonna bring some snacks.
Go in numerical order.
I've looked at this thing so many times. I've looked at this thing so many
Yeah,
times.
so,
Which one are you doing first?
we'll get into, we'll start with the parks. But I do have some things to go,
90.
I don't know that you necessarily, we need to go through some of these things, but I did want to touch on some things we worked on this year, and then key things to look for in 2023 and beyond. So I'll go through that really quick. In 2022, we continue to build our pavement management program. That's been a good thing for us as far as making decisions on our preservation treatments for our roads. We made some improvements to the Centertown shop. We've continued to do equipment upgrades. We've seen our material costs increase. I think that's across the board, and not just our department, but other county departments. We continue to see issues with equipment delivery delays. We've countered some of this by advance ordering some items, but we're still having trouble with items. In fact, our F-350 crew truck ordered the first of the year. We're still waiting for it to come in, so that continues to be an issue. The commission approved our career path progression plan earlier in the year, and that has been a big benefit to our employees, giving them some goals to work towards and a big component of employee retention. We've assisted with county facility projects involving site civil work. We worked on the parking lots, working on Carnegie right now, and tomorrow we bid the health department driveway project. We see an expansion of CART funding. That's due to the gas tax increase, and we expect that to be at least $100,000 increase each year for the next 4 years. And so we're watching that as that continues to grow. And then we also have through the Missouri Department of Conservation, the CART funding, they contribute some funds for maintaining gravel roads that go to conservation properties. Some things to look forward in 2024 too. In 2023, we're going to continue investment in our employees. We've included in our budget, and it's recommended by the auditor, a years of service salary adjustment. That is in there. I'll talk about that later. And then we continue our training and development and investing in Missouri LTAP training program and then other training programs supported by other organizations. So we continue to do that. We're going to continue our equipment upgrades. We had some things ordered here recently, and that will be for next year. The fueling system upgrade, that was originally scheduled for 2022, but due to delays in equipment delivery, we have to move that to 2023. I'll talk more about that later. We're going to expand our concrete repair services contract. That was a success in 2022, but limited due to funding, just some funding constraints. So we've increased our funding for that work, and utilizing contractors to do large-scale concrete repairs on concrete streets will help us meet the requests of our citizens, especially in these subdivisions. We have, and we'll get into it at the end, a significant list of capital improvement projects we're working on. We're seeing an increase in fuel costs. We budgeted for $3.59 a gallon for unleaded and $4.14 for diesel. We utilize the U.S. Energy Information Administration for these costs, and actually a recent check shows diesel at $4.61. So we're a little low on that, but we'll hope that that doesn't continue to stay up. And then grant funding, we've talked about that in the past. We've received a large amount of funding through various grants. With this comes a substantial amount of accounting and documentation, and we utilize consultants in Midmo RPC to help us with that. And the success in receiving these grants is due in large part to cooperative efforts of the various core teams working on the projects and the initiative of our department to seek out funds that are available. Long-range planning, we continue and will continue to work on planning for a new public works facility. I would like to see that, not this sales tax period, but in the next sales tax period, and we need to work towards that and kind of plan out how that would look and make a series of improvements, maybe intermediate getting to that point. So that's something we'll continue to talk about. And then our contingency continues to grow, and excuse me. In 2022, it was a little over 2.1 million, and we're projecting 2.4 in this 2023 budget. With increase in CART funding coming in, that's going to continue to see that number rise. We'd like to keep that more down towards $2 million, or about 20% of our revenue. So that's something we need to work on and look at other areas to increase our spending. For example, do this concrete repair services or other contracted work or other items. So that's something we're going to continue to look at. Now, let's get into the specific budgets. And so the document I gave you, what I'm going to do is just point out some changes from last year, just kind of highlight those, not everything, just kind of the bigger ticket items. And then there's some, just very few items that we would request a change from what the auditor's recommendation is, and those are shown in red. So we'll start with Parks and Recreation. Really, and I sent you all a document the other day concerning a possible change to our budget if Public Works were to take over mowing of county facilities. I don't know if now is the right time to get into that, or if we would want to have a later discussion with Greg Camp, possibly later in the week, and just to discuss this in particular. So I would want to hear your thoughts before I move forward with this on that.
Well, I mean, because I'm sure Greg has his budget prepared too. So we need to do something and just say, oh, yeah.
Well, we have you here. Well, why not hear your presentation with respect to taking over the whole?
Okay, and then I can come up later and we can discuss more as this progresses. So really under Parks, the proposed change aside, we'll get to that in just a second.
Okay.
The only two items that are of significant change are the salaries, and that's 51001, and that's due to the career path progression plan that was approved earlier in the year, and then the years of service adjustment. And so that increases to 51008 from 42360. And then we added a rent and lease payment, And this amount is $5,220, and that's just to reimburse Public Works for administration and use of facilities in similar fashion to what's done with planning. And so the same proportion was used to figure what that number was. So those are the only two really big items. Now let's talk about if Public Works were to take over mowing. And this has been discussed, it really kind of came up last year in budget time when we were first talking about creating this kind of a standalone Parks Department that was fully funded. And there was some brief mention about, you know, what if we were to do all of the mowing? And at that time, it just wasn't, we weren't set up to do that. And Greg Camp was already doing that, doing a fine job with that. But looking long-term for where we want to be with the county, if we were to take this over, we can definitely do it, and it would require a few changes to our budget. The primary one, the bulk of it, would be personnel. To do this, we would request adding one full-time employee and one seasonal or part-time employee. And those numbers are shown on that sheet. And with our current supervisor, we would bring that pay up to comparable to a crew supervisor on the Public Works side, so there would be some increase with that as well. That's the main item there. And we would also need to add in funding for our vehicle and equipment operation, primarily just for maintenance of mowing equipment and fuel, extra fuel, and everything associated with that. And additionally, we're tracking a little bit over on our budget for this year, so we might want to consider increasing that anyway. The net result would be an increase to the parks budget to $203,365 from $130,085. So give or take roughly about $75,000. Now, we think that would probably be just a transfer or a shift of resources within the county and not a significant overall increase to county expenses. One thing to make this happen is we would have to transfer all of the mowing equipment from Greg's department over to our department. It would not require us to buy any new equipment. We would just utilize what he's using now. There would be some side benefit to us doing this because we do maintain county facility landscaping. The crew, as they're here mowing, they could do a few items while they're on site and save some extra trips coming back and forth. So there would be some benefit to that too. One item, and it's really a sales tax item, but I can discuss it now. I can get more in detail later, but there's one item we do need to purchase, a tractor to replace the current John Deere tractor that's used for mowing and then other things, and that would be $30,000. That would be a capital improvement increase, and we failed to get that in the original submittal in August, so we would ask that that be included, and that's primarily used at County Park. There's some areas that we cannot mow with zero-turn mower, especially around the lake, and then there's additional uses of it for plowing snow and other things like that. So there's some additional uses for that tractor, but that's in a nutshell what we're looking at dollar-wise. We've discussed it at length internally, and we feel we can definitely do this. We just don't have the personnel right now with one full-time and one part-time employee to add it. So it'd just be a matter of adding some, just adding personnel under our department to do this. So, any questions or feedback?
Now, you had also talked about snow removal though too, because Greg does use that tractor for snow removal around the annex and the courthouse and I think over at the jail and what about I guess Carnegie too. So, you would take that over as well?
We could. That might be part of a little bit larger discussion. So right now, Greg uses that John Deere tractor that we have that we want to replace. When we replace that, we do not want the new tractor to be in any kind of snow or salt. That's hard on that piece of equipment. So we would keep the current John Deere tractor and just transfer that up to downtown here. One possibility to consider is contracting with the city, they do the removal, snow removal for the downtown association, just have them do the sidewalks, which would just leave county personnel to do the sidewalk leading up to the street sidewalk, and then steps and things like that. So basically just the smaller areas around each particular building, and not the main sidewalk. So
So how did you all do that, like in front of your store? Do you remember, did you all pay individually, or how did that work?
No, I think downtown always paid for that. In the olden days, we had to get out there and we had to do shovel the snow, and some did and some didn't.
Excuse
And then
me,
when
Sam.
that exposed to aggregate, they,
When you say downtown paid for it, what does that
well, the
mean?
downtown association.
Okay, so a
Downtown
third party
Jefferson
paid
City.
the city to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and
So you indirectly paid for it?
yeah, they've got the brushes and everything. I mean, they really do, they go fast. So I don't know what it would cost. I know we have snow. I've seen Greg up here on Sundays.
Well, snow doesn't take days off.
No,
It doesn't
no.
care what day it is.
What does the library do? Does anybody know?
I don't know, that's what I think we need to take a look at and see if, because it would make sense to do this block around the sheriff's block, and then I guess we probably have to do in front of Adams. So I think it'd be interesting to see what it would cost. While they're out there doing it, it's gotta be faster and easier. They've got the machine for it.
So do we think that, let's jump across the street on the other side of High Street, we think the city goes from the corner to your place for sidewalks?
I don't think they touched the sidewalk. I think that was all correct.
No.
No, do
Greg
they
doesn't.
stop at Lathrop and Gage?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Oh,
Who goes from the corner to your place?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. It's probably city with the brushes you're talking about. I mean, well, I don't think Ron Dawson, or maybe he does.
I think he pays to the.
Well, okay, but
Yeah,
he pays the city to do it, doesn't he?
We would actually pay like $250.
You gotta be more specific. Who's we?
The merchant would pay like $250.
To the association?
Yes.
And the association
Yes.
paid the city?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct. It was the city that does it.
So they have a brush to clean.
Well,
Now we're
they've
using
got
a
that
plow, so-
exposed aggregate, which is an issue, I think, as
Yeah.
opposed to a smooth pavement.
It's definitely something to consider, and would alleviate some of the burden on whoever does it, whether it's Greg's department or our department, as far as just taking care of the sidewalk along the back of curb in the street.
Right.
We already do the parking lots. We're gonna continue to do that with this parks department. That wouldn't change. It'd just be if we were to take on doing the sidewalks and everything else. What we kind of envision as a possibility, if this department is increased to do all the mowing and everything like that, we would have two people going around doing parking lots. One would push the parking lot, and then the other one would get out and do the rest associated with that. Kind of similar to what you might see with a contracted service. They usually would have somebody getting out and shoveling, and then the other one doing the actual pushing of the parking lot. So, but I think that would kind of evolve and see how that would work. So it's something that could be included into this. But I think really we need to get Greg involved and
Right.
see maybe at a larger scale, county as a whole, what makes the most sense going forward.
So you're talking on grass, I jump around. On grass cutting, I know Greg and them do, there's a stretch there on East McCarty that they cut as well. So you'll cut all the grass.
Everything that's required of the county to mow, we would handle.
Okay. Okay.
We've talked about this before, except for what we were talking about doing was getting an outside company to do it. In this instance, we would just be adding it to their scope of work for their grass cutting, and I think the landscaping would be something nice to have too, because they keep an eye on that stuff for us. And
We're doing that already, but it would be more convenient for us with every time we're downtown, we would just add that as part of what we do while we're here, instead of having to make a separate trip downtown to do it. And, you know, I think it'd just be more convenient.
Now, the big question, Eric, is would you do the lights for the Christmas trees that are in the yard too? No, I'm just getting off
Parks
topic.
and Rec does a Christmas tree, don't they? The mayor's
No, well,
tree.
we have
One thing to add is, we're talking about adding this park in Elston. We're talking about adding this park in Elston. Right now, we don't have the personnel to do that. I know, the bank, Hawthorne Bank, Dan Renfro continues to bring this up, where's the county want to be on this? And, if we were to add, mowing, we don't think that adding that task would require the new personnel hired, would require a full week's of work. We're anticipating that the additional work would move towards other park improvements, namely the Elston Park, and maintaining that. So I think that's an additional benefit that it would give us the ability to actually cross over that fence and actually begin developing the Elston Park, if that's the direction the county wants to go.
Where are we at on that? I mean, we talked about it a long time ago. Hadn't really heard anything about it, so are we needing to make the next move?
We do because Hawthorne Bank, which is the trustee,
Trustees or whatever.
is asking through Dan Renfro. The offer on the table probably is, does the county want to lease that property for $1 a year, $1 a year, for some indeterminate period of time? And it sounds like a good deal. I mean, we could be expending money through Eric's area with respect to mowing and putting a primitive trail around the lake, and it'd be very passive initially, but we do need to get off center on that, because otherwise the bank will look for some other party to do it. But it was Mr. Wren's wish and desire that this sort of be a county operation.
Yeah, and it's not being given to us. It's gonna be a long-term lease. So-
Right, I don't think we'll ever acquire title to the property, because his concern is then we could pass it on to somebody else, and that's was not in his plan.
Right, even if it's given to us, we're gonna be expending funds on it, so it's not technically free, but if we just have to make some kind of makeshift, we can spray and kill the grass to make paths, and once they start using it, it'll get knocked down. I mean, I'm interested in taking a look at it, keeping it minimal to start with, and see how much interest and use there is in the community. Because if it's not being used at some point, then I
Right.
don't wanna keep maintaining it, but
It's a pretty, we went out there and looked at it, it's pretty, and then there's a little pond at the bottom with
I think it's a
cattle, but
good time to make that decision is during budget time.
I
And
agree.
think we need to reach out to some other entities, conservation. I don't know who else would want to maybe do stuff. If there'd be some scouts or something that would do projects out there and do some prairie grass or whatever, you know.
So bringing in ideas on how to develop that park takes time. It takes somebody to actually lead the effort. And again, I go back to if we do expand our parks department with additional personnel, I think we would have the people in that department to actually lead the effort to make some of these things happen.
We have a parks committee, right?
Would you have a person
So they've been working on this in the background. I'm not on that committee.
Just in conversations, really. We haven't
Right.
really gotten too far into it.
Okay.
But they support the idea and the concept. of
have they seen the property?
I don't know if they have.
Okay.
We haven't taken them out there to see it.
Okay, okay.
So, if I may back up a minute, on the transferring the mowing duties to parks as opposed to Greg's, I would advocate for that from the personnel aspect. We've had a position for Greg advertised since July, when we knew that Gerard was gonna retire at the end of the year. We've been unable to find any suitable candidates for that, so he's gonna be one man down come January 1, roughly. And so that frees up enough of the budget salaries out of Greg's budget to move it to parks with very little deviation. And so I've not approached Greg about this, we've not had a discussion, but I know that it has been tough on him since July. while everybody's trying to burn up time and vacations and all that, being one man down, that we've still not filled. So that's gonna be an ongoing situation.
Well, along those lines, I did speak briefly with Greg about this, so he wasn't blindsided, because we have talked about it before, and said, you know, how many open positions do you have? And he indicated he's got one open. Said, okay, well then we can eliminate that position. I don't think he wants to eliminate the position, so we'll need to have this discussion with him as well. I agree with you. I don't think Greg agreed with me, though, so
Right, well,
we need to have a
and-
discussion
and
with him
like I
as well.
said, I hadn't discussed him, but I do know that we've had the position posted
Yep.
since July.
But
with
just in fairness to
absolutely
Greg,
no benefit.
we'll just, I think
Yeah,
maybe we'll get all,
he's-
everybody to the table. and
I think
talk
we
about
have
it.
him tomorrow, his budget is tomorrow.
Definitely not dollars.
No, it's
No.
not the same, but it would offset some of it.
We have some really nice county parks, so I think, yeah, this could be good.
So just to tie that up and let's move on. This is, I think, an opportunity if the commission wants us to do this. We're not actively seeking that out. We don't necessarily want to take it away from Greg, but it was asked of us to look at this, and if the county wants to move forward with this concept, we definitely can do it. We can do a good job at it. So if we're good,
Do you go through, is this the time you go through everything line by line or not? No?
I just usually look at what quest he has different, or if you guys have any questions about a line for line that you've looked at
Do you have
between.
questions about the salaries, because the increase in salaries asking for, that is in here?
I'd usually wait for salaries till the very end anyway, and see where we're at on the budget, and, I mean, if y'all have differences, that's just the way I look at it, is at the end.
Well, the salary for the part, is it what, one full-time and one part-time? Is that what you have?
currently, yes.
Yeah. The same
Um,
career ladder.
We can
career
discuss it
ladder
now.
Plus the increase for longevity increase.
Yes.
And the COLA, so it's, so for parks and planning, your salaries.
All three
are the
departments.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the same basic thing. The career path progression plan, which was approved in September, is included in some of the increase from last year on all the salaries of all departments. Additionally, there's some career path promotions mid-year or throughout the year that are part of this as well. And that follows with the plan. And then the third thing is, and we've worked with the auditor's office and everything fits, and it's in his recommendation, is that year of service increase. And it's basically a 10 cent per year that each employee's been with us, so.
Did you have that across the county, or is that, are we just talking
No,
this department?
Just for that department.
And you had it included in yours, or you didn't, and Eric included it?
No, I have it in
Okay.
my recommended. That's in
Okay,
the
again, that'd be something I wanna talk about at the end,
Yeah.
unless you really wanna dig deep into it today,
No, and
but.
your numbers are really pretty close.
Setting the parks discussion aside, and if that hadn't come up today, your look at parks versus, compared to Eric's proposal, they fit hand in glove, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, it's
All
just-
the differences really relate
I'm looking
to
at the
parks.
bottom, and then also parks would take over animal control, I think.
Amen.
No.
So when we get ready to do the line by line, I think we need to have
So when I grab a road that gets plowed, would you like them?
Sheriff's Department. We put them on the front of the ambulance, right? So when we get ready to do the line by line, I think we need to have a specific discussion about the grass cutting and maintenance.
But we better keep moving, because
Instead
we
of
have
just
somebody
doing
else
that line
coming
by
in
line.
at 10, so.
So I'm ready to move
Or at
on.
nine.
So,
Okay.
county planning, 173, there's no change from what the auditor recommended. We agree with that. Just 3 items to note. It's 54. County planning is 54.
Sorry, planning, sorry.
54.
Just, again, I want to just, as we go through this, I want to point out some things that are different from last year, and just explain why. And again, the salaries, that's an increase from last year, from 172, or to 172 from 155. Professional services, this was amended in the 2022 budget to cover cost of having the city of Jefferson do some building inspections for us when we were down an employee due to leave time. And we want to continue this practice, but we don't need as much as what was forecasted in 2022. We just put in 2,000 for that. And we added a line for tool and shop supplies of $2,200. That's 53295. The professional services was 52283. Tool and shop supplies, that previously, when the planning department needs something, it just kind of comes out of other budget line items, or in some cases supplemented by the road and bridge 211 budget. So we just wanted to include this as a standalone in that budget. And again, this was all, we agree with what the auditor's recommendation is. Any questions on planning? Okay, we'll move forward into road and bridge, the big one. So, starting with estimated revenues, 42720, the motor fuel tax cart. That's an increase of $101,812 from 2022. And again, I mentioned it earlier, we're going to continue to see an increase of at least $100,000 per year for the next 4 years, actually 3.5. And that's going to impact our contingency if we don't adjust other items in our budget. So in that number also is included funding that we get through the Department of Conservation of about $25,000 a year to help maintain county roads that go to conservation properties. Our property tax increased 5.4%, about $237,000, and we expect to see that continued increase in future years. And our fueling reimbursement, that's where money comes in from other departments because we do all fueling. We're seeing an increase of about almost $120,000. That's 46293 line item.
I do have a question on that.
Okay.
So I noticed that earlier. Right now, our activity for 2022 actual is only 317,000. DSNA projected it, and the year at 342,000. That you're estimating 433,000. Sorry, I did.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'm looking at numbers all day long. All kinds of numbers put together these budgets, but that one just hit me again. I should have asked you. Do you think that's a little high, considering we've had high fuel prices already this year? I think that's
The only thing I would do, Mark,
estimate
is
for next year.
maybe we'll go back and look at what we project. So when in August, we have to project what the next 5 months are going to be, or 4 months are going to be from every department, including us, for usage. And then that goes into the calculation, which also includes an estimated fuel cost. And I know when we budgeted last year, we were low on our fuel cost per gallon. We went with that Department of Energy estimation to come up with that. So
Right, we budgeted 314,000, and I mean, we're gonna be over that, of course, this year, but I just looked at that number again.
Well, fuel cost is gonna be an unknown
Well,
for the
sure.
sheriff and for EMS, and it's,
we don't want to be artificially higher than we need to be, though. I think it's what you're leaving
Right.
it. So we'll look at that. We'll refigure our spreadsheet
Okay.
and see if we can fine tune that. That won't be that hard to do.
Okay.
So,
we're bringing in Argentinian oil now.
I mean, I'm okay
No.
with being a little high on it. I'd rather be a little
Venezuela.
high on it than.
Venezuela?
the only concern is diesel is pretty high right now, and higher even what I think we got in here. So that would be one caveat there that we want to look a little bit at. So.
Yeah.
But if we run out of diesel, it'll be zero.
Be a lot of things we're gonna be way high on our budget,
Change
so.
capital.
We'll all be mowing parks.
Yeah.
Finger gas cans out the
And
door.
I got one more thing on
Yes.
revenue. I think I asked you that MAS, biofuel grant.
Yes.
Was budgeted for $8,700. We haven't got that money in yet. Is that still come in?
Yes,
This
we
year?
are going to, we haven't requested reimbursement for the tank that we purchased. There was some extra funds in there for the concrete work and everything else. I have to check on that, but Carrie, Carrie's gonna work on submitting that request this week.
Earlier than this one. Okay.
Yeah, we expect to be most of that reimbursed, if not all. Okay. Moving to the appropriations, again, the salaries, that's an increase to $2,007,276 from $1,790,776. So about $220,000 increase over last year due to the career path progression plan, which was approved, as well as our years of service adjustment. And this, again, has been.
And COLA.
And COLA, sorry, yeah, COLA of, 4%, yeah. So that's all part of the equation of the increase there. 53298.003 gas and propane, that's an increase of almost $3,500 due to just increases in propane over the years. Fuel, that's an increase as well. We discussed that earlier for those reasons discussed. And again, we'll look at that and see if we can fine tune that. 52, I don't have the right number on there, but parts.
Parts, you said?
Yeah, I got the wrong number on mine.
53299.
53299.005. So we're decreasing that amount to $300,000 from $326,823 in 2022. And with the improved equipment maintenance in our replacement program, we're able to lower this budget line item. And I think over time, we're gonna continue to be able to drop that down a little bit, just due to the fact that our mechanic shop has done a fantastic job of cycling out old equipment and maintaining the equipment that we have. And also, changing what we purchase, especially with stainless steel beds, allows for, lesser maintenance costs long-term. 53848.002 asphalt, we're decreasing that to $100,000 from $120,000 in 2022. This goes back to the 2021 appropriation amount, as we discussed during our salary plan presentation in September. We had mentioned dropping some of those items back to offset some of the additional costs for salaries. And so we're doing that. Additional funds are budgeted in the sales tax for paper preparation for overlays. 53848.003 asphalt tools and supplies. This is a new line item with an appropriation of $2,200. And in the past, we funded tools and supplies out of the base asphalt account. And we'd like to separate that out to be able to track that as a different cost and just pay for actual asphalt materials within that asphalt line item. Culverts, 53849.000, decreasing that to $75,000 from, it was actually increased due to some adjustments in the current salary of $150,000 now. And this again goes back to what we discussed in September with our salary plan presentation, bringing it back to 2021 appropriation levels. And adding 53849.003 culvert tools and supplies for the same reason as we're adding the one in asphalt, to take that line item out of the culverts and just track actually expense on pipes and culverts in that line item. 53850.01 to salt. That's a decrease to $240,000 from $359,250 in 2022. This matches our past history of salt usage, and this was discussed in our salary plan presentation in September. Concrete, 53853, we're increasing that to $150,000 from $75,000 in 2022. I mentioned earlier about the successful implementation of our concrete repair services contract. We want to expand that program, and subdivisions like Hunter's Run specifically, and then Deerdane Road, those are definitely ones we're going to start working on early next year. And we also plan to utilize funding in the sales tax fund for this as well. 53853.003 concrete tools and supplies. Again, the same item. We want to add $2,200 to fund tools and supplies out of this instead of the base account for concrete. 54901.004 software increased to $63,119 from $45,546. main items causing this increase are the addition of a diagnostic system for the mechanic shop, new engineering contract administration program, and upgrade in the Caterpillar diagnostic system. 54902.000, that's vehicle and heavy equipment. And this is one we would like to request a change to the auditor's proposed budget. We originally submitted 0 in this category, and the auditor recommended no appropriation for 2023. Our equipment purchases come out of sales tax primarily. However, with our dump truck replacement program, and we mentioned this about a month ago, we're replacing we're gonna get a new tandem for 2023, and we're gonna replace a single axle dump truck. We wanna take that single axle and restore it and add a new oil distributor to it in 2023. And this will replace the current distributor truck, which is a 1990 International model. And we have approximately $100,000 remaining in our parts budget for this year that we're holding back. And we would just keep that as it is and ask to take that money and carry forward that into this line item and add an additional $40,000 to do this truck changeover. And we would ask for $140,000 in this line item.
What year is that truck? You know right offhand?
The one that we would reuse, I believe, is a 2006. It's a single axle. It's got low
Okay.
miles and in pretty good shape.
That's fine. I was just curious on the year, how much of a difference there is.
The 1990 is in pretty bad shape in the distributor. It's all mechanical and it's,
That's almost classic.
It's an antique.
It is impossible to find parts for too. We've had to make things work.
We're working on getting historic plates for it.
Yeah, well, you only drive 1,000 miles a year.
This 100,000 you're talking about in parks, is that in sales tax parks?
parts, I'm sorry.
Parks. Parks.
Other parks too first.
I may have said that. So that would be one item that we would request a change. So it'd be $140,000 in 54902. And then 54925, highway maintenance facility, we submitted $10,000 just for general maintenance items. That's still good. However, I mentioned earlier our new fueling system that we're trying to, that we want to change out. That was originally scheduled for 2022. The commission approved it. Due to delays in getting the equipment delivered, the contractor has not been able to start that project. There's some concrete work associated with that. Pretty substantial amount of concrete work to do all that change over. And we would like to, we originally had that money in this year's budget. We would like to just move that into 2023. And that would be approximately $30,000. We would also like to add insulation of the Centertown shed at $5,000. So we would request to take it from $10,000 to $45,000.
And how much is that as carryover from 2022?
Do
Was
you
that just
have
the
how much we have
10,000?
remaining in highway maintenance facility?
Budgeted 83,000, we've spent 62, almost 63,000. Projected number is not good. So you're currently 20,000 under.
Okay. So you're going from 10 to 45 and you're gonna have around 20 carryover.
Yes.
Okay.
And then 56216, that's the contingency. This was increased to $2,426,490 from $2,125,879 in 2022. And this number always adjusts at the end of the year due to carry forward. And we know that's gonna change, those numbers will change. We really would like to work towards bringing that down a little closer to 2 million, or about 20% of our appropriations or revenues. So that's something to be thinking about long-term. We don't need to get into too much detail right now, but that's a change going kinda, in my opinion, the wrong direction on that. We don't need to keep on increasing our contingency. We need to think about keeping it, around 2 if we can.
And these last two items you're asking for are more like capital improvement things.
Pretty
which
much.
That would be, to me, that'd be the kind of thing to spend on contingency or your reserves, so just to throw that in.
Okay, that was gonna be my question. Is that just for the work stuff, or is that gonna be actual other capital stuff? So that contingency number, you're talking about a building and different things too, so that's where else it could go.
Could possibly,
So if you wanna keep building that up so that you can get a building, that doesn't, you don't necessarily have to spend it down now.
That's
So-
part of that discussion with our building,
Okay.
you know, going into the next couple of years, if we want to build that up or have a, you know, a set aside savings or investment side of that, you know.
We've been talking about that for a while, so.
Yeah, I think that might be a good start.
We've been talking about a wash basin and a lot of stuff out there.
Could be a good start.
Eventually, we hope to have an overall plan of where we want to be and kind of lay it out, and then get somebody on board to do some engineering and architectural work to kind of get things laid out, and then we can systematically make those improvements. So,
Okay.
let's move on to the sales tax.
806 is on page 122.
That's courthouse.
We're in 805, Debbie.
The road and bridge, so the next page.
126.
123 is 805.
And so I'll just go, we'll just pick out the projects we got planned. We'll start with 805, that sale, that account's still there. We expect to spend that down completely this year. 54909, under road construction, we would do the Les Road gravel road upgrade at $1,325,000. There's some money left in villages, 54927. We're working with the villages, and we expect them to spend that down next year as well. And then under 54928 resurfacing, we would put a little over $118,000 into the Northport Road pavement rehabilitation project. Moving to 807, sales tax. Under 54902, vehicle and heavy equipment, we have $440,000 budgeted for the tandem axle dump truck and sign truck. These were approved by the commission on October 25th, kind of an advance purchase. That amount is $474,053, so we would request that line item be increased to that amount, $474,053, from the original $440,000.
Hey, Mark, you're in 805 still.
Oh, I'm still there.
Sorry. That's not good.
There it is. Okay.
Just the cost has gone up and the two pieces of equipment.
From August to October, when we priced it finally and got it approved, it went up that much.
Yeah,
And we're gonna have to put POs in as soon as we nail it down.
That's the plan. It's just things change from the time we request it to the time we can even get the PO out.
isn't that amazing?
Capital, or cooperative projects, 54907, we have the multimodal transload rail facility and rail extension. And I'll tell you, the project is tracking higher on the estimate, and we're gonna have to be looking at that over the next couple of months and see how that impacts things. Right now, it's
I need some aspirin.
$160,000.
Yeah, but Union Pacific, right, is,
Yeah, let's skip this
Playing
one
with
for a
us.
minute.
Partly due to additional items we had to add to the project due to Union Pacific's review and just additional cost increases, so. We're
Is
in,
that contingency that you don't know what's happening?
Judge, are you here for Toby?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just didn't want, if you got started early, I didn't want to miss that, but that's why I'm here.
Yeah,
so be thinking about that, more to come. And, but right now, I think we just have to stick with that number, and the core team is looking at other options for funding, so.
Eric, this number, the 3,160,000, that was developed before the latest news?
Yes.
Okay,
That was developed, that's kind of the pre-design estimate that was submitted with the grant applications.
got it.
54908, bridge construction, we have Friendship Road box culvert replacement. We We have some miscellaneous projects that come throughout the year of $200,000 and preventative bridge maintenance of $25,000. We would ask one change from the auditor's recommendation. In the 2022 budget, we had $125,000 for the Hem Street Road bridge removal. This project has to be delayed to 2023 due to some items we have to work through with the Corps of Engineers. And so we would just like to carry that one over to 2023. Under 54909 road construction, we have $125,000 to begin the design of the Hickory Hill gravel road upgrade, $150,000 each for Arden subdivision reconstruction and Northport subdivision reconstruction, and then $100,000 for an upgrade to East Bend Road that is currently a chip seal road and it's in pretty poor condition. And we've been working on that to do an asphalt upgrade on that. And we would do that with our in-house crew, our in-house paving crew. 54923 stormwater improvements. We have the South Brooks Drive Phase 3 project. Again, that's got some funding through CDBG grant. That's $1 million. And then stormwater improvements on Northport subdivision of $125,000. Lakewood stormwater, it says construction on my document. I believe that would actually be design. We would do a design contract to begin a series of several stormwater improvements on that, in that subdivision. And then $50,000 for resurfacing projects, the culverts required for the prep work. And then some miscellaneous stormwater improvements of $70,064. This miscellaneous stormwater improvements is kind of the catch-all, the adjustment item in the budget that changes based on what the carry forward is. So that number could go up or down at the very end. We have $250,000 for villages, and this is typically resurfacing that they piggyback off of us on. For our resurfacing 54928, we have $1.7 million for overlays and chip seals. We have $250,000 for concrete repair services. We talked about that previously. And then $50,000 for asphalt prep work for overlays. In our safety improvements, 54929, we will begin the design of the Tanner Bridge Road Phase 1 improvement, estimated at $55,000. That would couple with the project to replace the bridge that will be in design 2024 and construction 2025. So this would correspond with that.
Phase 1 was coming off 179?
Yes.
Okay.
And an additional change to the auditor's recommendation, Rainbow Drive sidewalk improvement, that was planned for this year. Just due to workload, we have to move that to next year. And we would ask to just carry forward that at $75,000. And then other county facility improvements in the 804. I got here 804, it should be 806. We do have, and it was in the recommendation from the auditor, the addition of air conditioning in the mechanic shop, estimated at $100,000. And then two items that we failed to get in with our submittal for parks. We're still working on replacing or improving the parking lot at County Park. Our pre-design estimate is $150,000. And then I mentioned earlier, a new compact utility tractor estimated at $30,000. So we would request that $180,000 be included in the sales tax fund for park improvements. And that's different from what the auditor had submitted or recommended. That's all I have. So thank you for the opportunity to go through this. Any follow-up questions? You got them? I know we need to kind of move on, stay on schedule for other departments, but if you got something for me, I'd be happy to answer.
You got 20 minutes.
I got 20 more minutes to go.
Yes. The longer
We
you
had
talk,
to
the
be done
smaller
by
budget
9.
gets.
No, we got an hour.
Yeah.
If you finish late, it costs you.
At the end of 23.
We will be done no matter what with 805, okay? We will be sure to spend that money down.
We will have everything encumbered.
Okay.
Now, whether the construction is done or not,
Just one
That's where we would-
project, Lesh Road.
Yes.
So,
That's
Lash and
Road.
Northport,
And then there's the village.
M Street on
and then the
805
village
as well.
stuff. No, that was in 807.
Okay.
I was just kind of confused on 807, 54223. Looks like it's budgeted for $1 million, but you have all these other things, are those POs that are out there?
Oh,
Which one?
807.
it's a little funny sometimes setting up the POs. Back in the day, we just had the base account and we just created the PO as it came along. Doing them ahead of time is good for accounting purposes, but, so let's look at that real quick, 54923. So we have South Brooks, that's in there. Lakewood, it's at 250. That was a construction amount that actually, and can I go back to that? I said that wrong, Matt. We do have a project that we're getting ready to bid, but it won't be bid out, most likely, will not be bid out by the end of the year. It's construction of 2 stormwater locations in Lakewood subdivision. That's estimated at 75.
It adds up. That's
We actually
what's on
have
this,
But if you
It's
look,
the same.
if you look at the 2022 budget, it's got 250,000. So I'm wondering, is that in the?
That's book anyway, I can say that's not book.
You know about stormwater or what?
I think it's in that, there's a number, that's just the stormwater, it's 320,064.
Right, there's the detail up there.
That's it right there, yeah, okay. Yeah, so it all,
That's
it all,
for-
it all
yeah,
fits,
that's-
it all fits.
It's all, that's the
It all
same
fits.
numbers you have on.
So,
No, really, with the, you know, with some few exceptions, you and our auditor are pretty well,
The money's there.
yeah, so.
So on Cartograph, can we access that? Does that actually outline all the projects we have going? Do you have a map that says 2023 design, phase 1, Tanner Bridge Road, Tanner Bridge Bridge, 2024 design, 2025 construction,
Not in
right,
Cartograph.
right now, Cartograph.
or anywhere? I guess was wondering if that was a,
Right now, Cartograph is used for maintenance.
okay.
We could enter tasks in that would include the design. We just haven't done that yet.
I just, y'all got a lot of projects here, so I didn't know if there's a way that we can look at it, if there's layers like we do on GIS that says, okay, here's a stormwater area we're looking at, you know, specifically on
It can be integrated.
east side, west side, when people call us and ask us, when's East Bend getting some construction done? You know, and which culvert on Friendship Road is getting taken care of, and different things, so.
I think that's a very good comment, and we can move that direction, just we haven't implemented the, I would
Well, you guys
say-
are just an email away, but we can also look stuff up ourselves too.
I don't, you guys can they view Cartograph? They have to
No,
a
you have to have a
license.
GIS license in order to, but you're welcome to, you know, ask us and we can give you the details about anything. Yeah, currently Cartograph's used to track maintenance cost on the road and bridge maintenance side of things and parks maintenance. We haven't integrated it into the engineering department yet. It can be done, we haven't got that far yet.
One thing we could possibly look into is we are looking at getting contract administration software for the engineering side of things. And it may be, and I don't know all the specifics of it yet, but it may be an option that we could start listing projects in it as we start thinking about this stuff.
Okay.
One of the things that we're looking at, the program we're looking at has unlimited read-only access to it. So it'd just be a matter of giving you all access and then you could go in and,
Well, it takes time to do that too, so I'm not saying that we need to sit down and take hours upon hours just to draw a pretty map with colors
well,
on it for us.
it may just be a list of the projects that are coming up with a year associated with them. To where,
Okay.
like I said, I just don't know all the specifics of it yet, but it's something we can look into.
Something we definitely can look at, a layer in GIS that would have all the projects highlighted for 2022 or 3
Yeah.
is totally doable. Let's see how we can make that.
That would be helpful. It really
Y'all
would.
got a lot of
Yeah.
stuff going on.
Yeah.
And, you know, when we ask about stuff, if we can tell them it's coming up in 2, 3, 4 years too, that answers questions. I mean, Debbie's been asking about her road being paved for a long time. Still not gonna be on the map, but
Did get her intersection done.
there you go.
Make sure it's view only, read only, because otherwise something might get changed.
It's got changed.
I might move some stuff from the west over to the east.
So definitely something I think is to look forward to.
I just didn't know if y'all had something along the lines, how y'all keep track of everything, 'cause y'all do have a lot going on.
Hey, Jeff.
It's tough. It is.
Whiteboard?
Whiteboard.
Matt, I've known you since 5th grade.
It's all right here.
You can remember 3 basketball plays. Come on, man. And that's all I had for y'all.
That's why I'm an engineer.
Unless you expect your,
There you go.
Spreadsheet.
807, road, 700 cash balance to go down by $500,000 from now to the end of the year. Our carry forward is low on the budget right now. Right now, you've got about $4.5 million cash. We've got about $4 million carry forward, so is there anything, will that get spent down significantly before the end of the year?
I know Matt's got a few he's trying to close out.
I'm trying to close a couple out right now, but
So
there were several projects we were gonna try to get out before the end of the year. We just
That's
ran
right.
out of
There were
time.
some we need to carry forward that you mentioned.
Hemp Street,
that had been
Hemp Street,
finished
Rainbow
yet,
Drive
so
side.
that'll take out some of that extra carry forward. Okay.
So usually we kind of, like, the weekend between Christmas and New Year's, we'll get together and tweak all these final carry forwards and everything, and yeah, we'll get all that figured out then.
POs that have to come.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
No?
No, thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Appreciate
so
all your work on
regarding
it.
parks and that discussion about mowing, you just let me know when you want me to come back up and discuss.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's,
Okay.
Yep, I think we need to we'll get everybody to the table on that one and go through it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Ahead of schedule.
Okay.
We even started late.
So we are 15 minutes earlier now.
Yeah, it's great.
I got a jury sitting over there waiting, so
Yeah.
starting early helps.
I'll grab a little bit of coffee.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, I got the things I didn't ask, but it was like in the middle of your presentation.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was actually just wondering about that the other day, so. I was like,
We're gonna go try to take care of the problem.
Okay, perfect.
In a few weeks.
Oh, is he here?
Okay.
Go ahead and start.
You are on page
74.
I'm sorry?
74.
Okay. You talk so quietly, Toby. I said you speak so quietly.
You know, so I have like a head cold and I can't hear out of one ear, so it just kind of
But
rattles
which ear
around.
we can?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't hear the judge.
Okay.
Many people tell me that.
I was just checking you.
It's this side of the room. I got
Yeah.
you.
Okay, Jeff said he'd be back, but we,
Go ahead.
yeah.
So the, yeah, the changes to our proposed budget for this upcoming year largely falls in the salary line, which is a combination of salary changes that we want to make, but then also adding some staffing. The The first change is, while you're pulling that up, that we would like to add 3 part-time youth specialists. 2 of those positions would come by conversions. We've had a nurse on staff for the last decade that was required by residential policy. We don't need the nurse, and we have found community resources to fill that position. So we would like to transition that to a youth specialist. The second position, we've not had a part-time cook on staff, so we would like to convert that position to a youth specialist. And then the third would come from, we hope, would largely be offset by our overtime line.
It's early for that.
We've got 15,000 proposed for overtime, and we're hopeful that by adding those youth specialists, we'll bring that overtime line down. We would like to increase the part-time salary from $14.50 for those youth specialists to $17 an hour. The full-time positions, I believe the recommendation is that they go to $35,000, and this is just slightly above that $35,000 a year rate. We would like to take the full-time youth specialist positions to $42,000 if they don't have prior juvenile office, residential, DYS detention experience, to $42,000 with 2 years experience. $44,000. The supervisors would go to $48,000, and then the program director and the superintendent would raise to $58,000 for starting.
I'm gonna back you up here.
Okay.
In the budget itself, I see that there's 1 new full-time position. You're asking for 3? Or what did I just hear you say?
Are you in the part-time spots?
Full-time.
Oh, you were asking,
Yeah, so
yeah, you
these
were
are-
asking for more part-time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 1 full-time that you're asking?
No, all 3 of those would be part-time.
All 3 of those would be part-time.
Oh, okay, I had in there.
No, you do have 1 full-time position right there. That's a DJO position, and I'm
DJO.
gonna get to that.
Okay.
So right now, we're talking about the youth specialists, which are on the residential detention facility that staffs that facility.
Kobe, did you email this list to us? I'm trying to find the email with all these requests on it.
It was the same one I emailed you.
Okay, so you sent it to us. Okay, hold on, I'll find it. Go ahead, keep going, I'll
And it's
catch
out there
up.
on your drive too.
So really adjusting those salaries, that $42,000 is equivalent to what the jailers start at. And at this point, based on our population in detention and residential, we believe that that salary is gonna be necessary to maintain staff. We actually, we've been running higher. Numbers have been high this year. We're up 38% in referrals over last year. On monitors, last year total, we had 16 youth the entire year. And at one point this year, we had 13. We're at 38, so our number has doubled, 50% on monitors. Our detention facility has been running full, and we've had children placed on non-secure that have the same behaviors but have been able to be maintained on non-secure. We did have 1 staff walk out mid-shift when the kids threatened to riot. He said, "This isn't worth the pay that I make." So we,
Are these the older ones? The one we picked up because of legislation?
they range in
Okay,
age.
the range.
We got a particularly challenging cohort, about 13 to 14,
All right.
which is a slightly different problem than the 17-year-olds. But from a functional point of view, it's the same. And we're putting everybody in non-secure, we can put in non-secure, we're putting everybody out on monitor that we can put out on monitor. We're trying to avoid,
Debbie?
take 2 juvenile officers driving to Kirksville and driving them back, but it's, business is too good.
The volume's too good.
Yeah.
This is a nationwide problem. We actually just got invited
just
to
salaries.
a seminar about the national crisis in juvenile justice.
Oh, okay.
And the staffing crisis. So it's a nationwide problem, and we're seeing it across Children's Division, Division of Youth Services, detention facilities, juvenile offices, all of the entities are in a staffing crisis.
I don't think I'd do it for 14.
We can look at that deeper
What'd you
into
say,
it.
14,
I was looking at
75?
the whole list of.
I mean, I'd probably work fast food or something, make more, and not, yeah.
It takes a special person to do the work, and we have good people who do it, but these are high-risk, high-need kids. And there has to be some compensation attached to it. The other position that we're asking for, as Debbie mentioned, is a full-time DJO position, which ties back to the court services unit. Again, the referrals are up 38% over last year. Last year was up because last year is when we raised the age. Again, we've had the increase in monitors, 16 the entire year last year, 38 as of 11/1 this year. We've had an increase in transport, higher numbers, more intense service-based cases. We had 8 DJOs, and then we transitioned one over to a full-time legal position. So we're just asking to add a DJO back in to compensate for the numbers. The other adjustment would be the salary for the chief deputy, the juvenile officer and court administrator position. Would ask that it adjust based on the compression that was created when we did the mid-year raises on court services unit. The other changes that are in there, I've asked for an increase in the attorney line item, professional services. That again is based off of the volume. When we take a higher number of kids to court, then that raises what we have to pay out there.
We were running most of them with Wednesday and Thursday afternoons. So now we've added another half day with Judge Stumping. I mean, that's to give you some handle with the volume.
For juveniles?
For juvenile.
It's projected to be 140,000 this year, but if they're adding more time for that, attorneys, then the 175 is where they're at for 23.
Is that the 52283?
Yeah.
We did have a decrease in the residential emergency service line, 43766, up back at the top, yep. If you remember last year, we gave up our residential program, so we're emergency care. And then our detention facility. Residential is reimbursed by the state at a higher level. On the detention and non-secure kids, we get $17 a day. So that's the decrease there, and we anticipated that decrease. I would note that in the juvenile attention personnel 49001, as of last year, that line item was 117, and we're now projected for this year at 194, and that's money that the state reimburses us, so they've come up approximately 77,000 in what they reimburse us for salaries. And it does also offset those mid-year raises for the juvenile officers, the DJOs that was provided.
Does the state give more because their salaries went up?
So we turn in, they every year ask us what the salaries are, and then we supply that back to them, yes. And then that line above that, the juvenile court diversion, this is a grant from the Division of Youth Services, and they also supply money for salary. They cover 2 DJO positions. That's through the Division of Youth Services. And then in turn, we provide programming attempting to divert the kids from their custody.
How many positions were you requesting adding? One DJO?
One full-time position, 3
Okay.
part-time positions.
Okay, one part-time and one full-time.
So the two of those other, so 3 part-times, one is a conversion. We're removing the part-time nurse and asking that that be then made a part-time youth specialist. We're removing the part-time cook, asking that be made a part-time youth specialist, and then adding the part-time youth specialist. But that overtime line that we have is for youth specialist salary. All of that is maintained over there, so we're hopeful that by adding another part-time youth specialist, that we can bring down that overtime line. We have staffing requirements as put forth by the Supreme Court detention standards, so we have to have at least 3 on staff, which is where we start picking up overtime, because we're just right now staffed at enough, so if somebody goes on vacation or calls in sick, then we have to start paying overtime. So we're hopeful that adding those positions will reduce the overtime line.
Okay, so add a full-time DJO, part-time DJO, and then the youth specialist would actually be removing the part-time nurse and part-time cook. Did I understand that right?
1 full-time DJO and 3 part-time youth specialists.
3 part-time youth specialists?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you have a part-time DJO in there too?
I did not.
Okay, that's where I misunderstood. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We don't have any issues with any of the other expense line.
Anything that you want to change? Or
No, I was good where you and I ended up. Yeah, thank you. Really hanging on to our staff at this point when everybody else is struggling to hang on to theirs is going to be the most important element.
I don't think I have any more questions. I think I was out for a second when you were going through those. Trying to catch up.
Right. You're doing a good job with it.
Thank you.
None that could be answered here.
Yeah.
It's what's happening to our society that just causes this to happen. Well, I guess I know, but
It's alarming.
it is it's scary.
Fulton had that 13-year-old who stole the car. And we've had, seems like some of these early teens are, it's a different world.
Mental Health was reporting that they've had a 50% increase in referrals as well from 1 month to the next. Facilities are full, the beds are full, hospitals are holding kids. My sister-in-law, she runs Children's Mercy in Kansas City, and they've had a children's division child placed in their hospital for going on a year waiting for placement in a hospital. Yeah.
Okay.
your schedule good with the other ones coming up the next 2 days? You're sitting on.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Toby.
Clerk.
You're doing a good job.
Mark is coming.
Yeah.
We should probably consider putting those all closer together. Same day.
I mean, it helps us.
I was just going off the
Hey,
last.
Toby, while,
I can usually schedule a break.
while you're here, do we want to just touch base on
Yes.
the architects and what's going on
Yes.
there to
You
fill
want
the
to
folks
do
in?
May 7th still?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll meet for our final meeting on the building study on the 7th at 9 a.m. Is that what we decided yesterday?
You sent me something yesterday, I think.
And then I've asked to be added to the agenda on the 20th to present the building study, the outcome of the needs study.
9 a.m. on the 7th, and then you asked me to put that on the 20th?
Yes,
Right.
please.
Okay. I'll do that.
Okay.
On the 7th, you're having it where at?
Architects Alliance at 9 a.m.
Do you wanna send out an invite? I'll go sit there, just be a fly on the wall just to hear it.
Would
If
love
I-
to.
I have to go to Ladonia, so.
I'll see if we can make it.
Absolutely.
All right.
We have a Medal of Honor recipient who, from Ladonia, who won his Medal of Honor on December 7th at Pearl Harbor. So we're recognizing him, putting up signs, so, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
for your time, thanks for accommodating.
Thank you all.
You guys ready to go? It's early, but.
It's just me.
Oh, okay. Sitting by, I didn't recognize the other gentleman.
I like having it all written out on the sheet, what the requests were, and that's what I was trying to find on the email.
Yeah.
The budget, our salary request Debbie had, so. Did you send an email with all yours?
I did.
50, yeah, thank you, thank you. Okay, thank you all.
You got an email with,
They should. I
well, we
sent
need a
it.
copy of that, so. For this meeting, you sent them an email?
I sent it when I sent the budget request.
Well, the original budget. When I was-
Yeah.
Yeah, what you sent me back when I was.
Oh, okay.
And
doing
I have a
the budget.
copy if you, I mean,
No, that's fine. I thought you meant for today.
no, I did not send something separate for today. I don't really have a lot.
Did you send that to us too?
I did.
I must have filed it under miscellaneous.
It's in that one
Usually
that looks
put
like
it
a
in the-
trash can.
I usually put it in the budget file, and this one makes nothing. Spam.
I don't really have a lot to talk about. The capital things that I had requested, like our awning and doors and things, you know, Greg put those in his budget. So they're really the only thing that I had asked that was it for an increase for 2023 is salaries. You know, fortunately, we were able to take care of the front desk staff and WIC during 2022. So I'm just asking for similar adjustments compared to similar industries for the nurses and the environmental staff. And I think Mark and I were able,
Pretty much anyone, and most people who did not get a raise this year.
right,
Asking for the most part.
right. Not me and not our adult brain injury coordinator because her contract would not cover that. But the rest of the staff, yeah, basically if they didn't get a kind of a market adjustment in 2022, we're asking for it for 2023. And then, you know, there's gonna be some more contracts coming from DHSS. The issue is trying to maximize those available funds while staying in the specific constraints of their contract. There's a new like workforce opportunity contract that's coming. Well, it started October 1st, 2022, but we don't have a contract yet. So, and it's gonna go until June of 2024. And it's like $272,000 for Cole County. It has to only spend on COVID-19 work. And frankly, we're just not really doing that much COVID-19 work. You know, in November, I think our highest day was 10 cases. We're not getting calls. So, and you can't spend it to do vaccinations, which we're not doing many of those either. So, I'm not sure. Some local administrators are talking about hiring new staff with it, which I think is pretty short-sighted because there's really not that much work for them to do. And then what do you do with them in June of 2024 when you don't have money to pay them anymore?
Right.
And, you know, I would love to have an epidemiologist, but I'm not going to get one to come work for us for a year. But DHS is also asking for some increases to the state budget, like general revenue for the aid to local public health line, and discussing some very innovative ideas like regional staff. And we do have some space in our building, so
I've already told our other RegNet partners that, we could host epidemiologists and they could, if DHSS gave us the funding, then we could take care of all 13 counties, because, some of the smaller counties, they don't need an epidemiologist every year, but if they have or every week or whatever, it kind of depends what's going on. So
Mhm.
it's an interesting time budget-wise when there's all this money, but you can only spend it on very, very specific things. And I hate to turn down state money, but if we're not doing
If
the
it's
work,
for COVID, it's not.
and I'm not willing to say we're doing something we're not.
That's the right approach.
Yeah, you look at China, and I mean, it's just,
Yeah, and then I think Debbie even asked the other day about, before paying an invoice that was with one of our contracts, just to make sure that that work was done. I think we talked about that, is, some of the contractors, when they come to our building, if someone's not there to supervise, she checked with me to make sure before we pay the invoice, because I don't want us to pay for services that maybe the contractors haven't finished or haven't finished to specification. So maybe, I would just recommend, from our perspective, having someone at the county level to kind of oversee some of those projects or contractors to make sure the work is completed before payment is made. So, and the other thing is, I had added on my comments was maintenance contracts for the regular maintenance of our equipment, like our HVAC system. We had, one outside that wasn't working properly and it was just really dirty. And until cleaning staff who do not have a lot of expertise in that cleaned it, we might have had bigger issues, but once they cleaned it, it actually started working. And similar issue on another unit that was on the health conference room. So having regular maintenance on those systems would probably save us money in the long run and keep our buildings running more efficiently.
it sounds like we might be reorganizing maintenance, so we can assign them other tasks like
Yeah.
that.
Have a regular schedule.
Yeah.
So that's really all I had. Like I said, not a big request this year.
Is there anything in particular you had issues with and recommended numbers? Okay.
I think there was
But
one
I
that I had
tweaked
submitted
a
that was
little.
an error, and you just tweaked them a little
yeah.
bit. But, you fixed that. You caught it.
Yeah. I think I tweaked some of the revenues a little bit because the immunization revenues seem to be going down.
Well, right. So, we go in and do the flu shots in the schools, but our numbers were down this year. So some of the administrative fees, and, of course, last year we were able to bill insurance for the administration fees for all the COVID vaccines, and we're certainly not doing the volume in this year that we did last year. So those numbers are going to fluctuate. DHSS has contacted us about doing some biometrics for them like we did for DeLong, so that'll be some extra projects that we'll take on. I know that this really wasn't part of my budget, it's kind of separate, but the worksite wellness budget, I don't know, I didn't bring a presentation from Sabrina, but I know that, they've been doing a little bit more projects this year, and, like they're doing the ugly sweater thing, Lights, just trying to be a little bit more active. So if you did want to talk about worksite wellness later, like when you talk about insurance, let us know, and, I could have Sabrina come and talk about, she has got a committee, from around the county departments. We could talk about some of the projects that she has planned, and I know that they don't spend all the money, but if you have questions, let us know.
Okay.
Currently, it's budgeted for about 25,000 for the year, for next year.
Okay. I'll let her know that.
Just,
I don't think they've been getting close to that, right?
right.
Okay.
It was 50 for a long time.
Right,
and then I'm
there's no
sure
way.
that's why Mara reduced it.
Okay.
I think did you go ahead and reduce it?
Well, they just
Was
were
that a
not
mutual
spending
thing?
it, yeah.
Well,
Did
no.
you put in department requested numbers on 560? I thought you did.
I may have.
No, I'm good with that, because, yeah,
It's
the number,
only
the
been
amount
about
we've been
11.
spending has been
Right.
not even 20,000 for the
Right.
last couple of years, so.
Any other questions?
Not for me.
That is Thursday, we're talking about that at 12:30.
Thursday at 12:30.
The wellness account.
Oh, okay.
But we'll probably get done early.
That could get moved up,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Well, I think that the 25 is plenty. They have not been spending that. But I thought if they wanted to know what, it was specifics on what the money has been going towards, to let
Yeah.
us know. That was easy. Painless. Look at
This is
that, it
the
saved
easy
you
part.
time. You have 45 minutes, you could go get like coffee and a donut or something.
Gotta go run and see if we can get Steve.
Yeah, let's, Steve wants to jump the line because of another thing, so that'd be great.
Gonna take a little break and I come
Yeah,
get him or what?
yeah. Well, let's see if you can get him in here.
See if you- Yeah, we'll just keep moving.
Thank you, Christie.
No problem.
Hey, Chris.
My dad is out of the hospital again,
That's what
so
I-
2 hospital visits in 2 weeks. Pretty hard on him.
Oh, he went back.
Yeah, so, yeah, he got out that Thursday, and we were taking him home. So anyway, that Tuesday when he went to see Dr. Nagi, we put him back in, the pancreatitis had flared up.
Supposed to be one on every
But then he got out Sunday, and he's doing a lot better.
I don't know where it would be. The
When are
safety.
they gonna be able to finish it?
Well, they said 2 or 3 months, they gotta get the pancreatitis.
I'm gonna go get his
He's
final
just
shot
lost some,
tomorrow.
he's lost so much strength. They kept asking his mother, I was like, oh, he usually delivers all the cash for our, like, he's a very active person, you know, it's just, it's strength, you know? So,
That's what we.
he's done.
I had.
No, he was in hospital.
Oh.
So if you see
It's okay, yeah, we all just kind of,
cost of us.
so,
I don't care. Expect.
Yeah. Get my spinal shot.
yeah.
Hey,
General
and I'll be
funds.
fine, that does make a difference.
Oh, yeah.
Where's the hot seat at? Here? Man, right front and center. I don't know if I like this or not.
You think knee surgery is bad, you sit down.
When is that, tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yes. 8:30, I'll be in the operating room. Hey, Jeff.
Page 33,
Page 33.
or 32.
32.
32, sorry.
You've got, election services and,
Thanks, Larry.
We don't know what that's going on.
Thanks, buddy.
Mark, you'll get yours after
Yeah. Good idea. Go ahead and start.
Well, you ain't gonna hear what I got to say. Is he doing that on purpose?
We're just gonna go.
No.
I like that.
So,
We can knock your other two funds, go through those real quick, or do you have any questions about the?
I don't have any questions with anything except
NID
the salaries is all
or
I
the-
have.
Or the election services fund, those okay?
I think so.
The other two funds.
Yeah, I thought everything looked good.
Okay.
Yeah.
You made us stop and come back in here for that?
No, I just want to talk about
I just
salaries
teased you,
briefly.
Steve.
I know. But, you know, you can see I requested an extra $100,000 in salaries and mine was declined, but everybody else's was approved, so I don't
That
think
was a
that's
typo.
very fair at all.
That we didn't catch until this was published, so, yeah.
We just don't like you as much.
I guess not. I guess Mark doesn't, because he gave everybody else their big
Yeah.
raises,
Well,
but he didn't give me mine.
Wait till we
so
get to the collector.
That's my big complaint.
Oh,
But really, a 4% increase is very generous, and I want to thank you all if that does come to fruition. We do get that. But what I want to address is all the salary increases that came throughout the year for all the different departments that, like, we as elected officials did not get. There was a lot of them that went through, and there's a lot of them in this budget. You can go through here, and there's a lot of them in there. Some departments are getting $200,000 increases in payroll. And I just don't think that's fair. We have employees that work for the county too, and it looks like almost all the elected officials, especially in this building and others, they are only getting a 4% increase. And almost everybody else in the county, whether they're working under you all, they're all getting way above that. And I don't think that's fair. I think that we should try to pull that money back in and redistribute it fairly amongst all the departments instead of just giving these big raises to some departments and not others. Because I know that the collector, the clerk, the recorder, you know, all these offices are only getting the 4%. Well, everybody else is above that. All the other departments are above that. which most of those departments, not throwing casting any stones, is mostly under you guys, which is not fair for us. So what I would say, and I don't want to get into a big argument over it or anything, I just want you to consider maybe equalizing everybody's pay instead of just certain departments. Because there were some pretty good raises given out earlier in the year, and this budget has some pretty considerable raises, but our departments are not in it. So I would just ask you guys to reconsider that and maybe distribute that money evenly, because we would just like to give our employees raises. If we're doing merit raises on top of the 4% or what's going on, I don't know, but there are some really huge increases in some departments. So I'm not really looking for an argument or anything, but if anybody wants to.
I can just briefly say my philosophy or methodology here on salaries. Most of the departments that requested additional salary, I left it in there. A lot of it was bigger departments like, well, like the three we just went over. Part of their employees got some 2022 raises mid-year. What they were asking for is to, for the most part, raises for the rest of their employees. So I pretty much left that in their requests and in my recommended budgets. The main departments that did not ask for anything would be one Steve mentioned, the smaller elected official departments. So yes, all that's in there is 4% COLAs. If I saw somebody making less than 35,000 currently, I think I put a couple of additional recommendations. That there aren't that many, especially because a lot of them we're in public works. They have their maintenance would be some. We'll get to that later, but so there might have been a couple of employees that someone didn't specifically ask. I just bumped them up to 35,000 in my recommendation. It's kind of a minimum.
And you looked at our
salary.
offices, like our office too?
Yeah, all your people are making over 35. Most everybody you just mentioned, is the collector,
Right.
recorder, my office, treasurer, everybody makes over
Okay.
35. So there was nothing I added there. But then my underlying thing is, like I mentioned it the day I presented the budget to you, I don't have anything to go by as far as salary, scale, structure, some old information on minimum starting salaries that most of that was all outdated and surpassed. So I'm asking for your help on salaries too.
Right.
As
Well,
far as,
I think Kristen did a really good job of getting everybody equalized and brought up. And right now, it's pretty fair. I think I looked at our salaries and it looks like it's pretty fair. But if you start giving some departments raises above the COLA, then that leaves us, if you're not gonna give us the same benefit, then that leaves us falling behind again. So, I just ask you to consider maybe reevaluating that and distributing that more evenly between the departments and not just giving it to all the few departments. You know what I mean? Just to distribute it more evenly with everybody.
So Mark, on your 4%, that's countywide.
Countywide,
Every employee.
everybody.
Even the employees that got a raise in mid-year.
Yes.
So,
Except for,
Oh, EMS is totally different.
Okay.
They're on a July, theirs kick
Okay.
in July 1st.
and they have a salary schedule to work
Yeah, they have a separate
toward.
schedule, and their budget includes a 4% kick in on July 1st,
okay,
not
but,
on January.
but even for, like the salaries that Steve's talking about, that got some bumps in the middle of the year that we approved, whether we all voted for it or not, it got approved by the commission. They all have a 4% bump on it.
In the budget,
Now,
yes.
And when I talked to every one of them, my point was that they would forego the COLA if they're gonna, there's a lot of big raises in the middle of the year. And I don't necessarily think they should get the COLA as well on top of that. I don't think that's fair at all, so.
We might need a legal
Well,
opinion then.
well, if you,
from
I mean,
Jill on that.
I think if you take the COLA away from some, you take the COLA away from all.
Then we can make
Because
it
it-
all merit if we want to.
Well, I guess you could
I just don't think that was
Yeah.
fair for them to get big raises plus the 4%. And I think there should be a way to work around it, and because there are departments, elected officials that are not getting the same treatment. So
You might want to talk to Jill though, but then that means none of this certain, and include Larry.
Hey,
We
I'm
get
willing-
nothing. We get nothing if there's no COLA. If there's no across-the-board COLA, the elected officials get nothing added to
They
their
could give
salaries.
raises
so.
instead. I'm more concerned about
not-
the-
I'm
not
just-
that
you
easy.
all, Not me,
That's-
but.
That will be a
You'd have to have
consequence.
a vote of
I'm not
the,
giving COLA to everybody.
Yeah, I'm not worried about me, but you and Steve and.
Why can't you do that and divide the merit money that you're giving to all the departments equally between, what's left over equally between everybody? That's what I don't understand. Give everybody the 4%, but then, you know, the money that's going all the extra salaries. But I understand your point that some people got big raises and now they're getting 4% on top of that big raise, and we're still not getting the raises. So I understand, but I don't know how you would, like you said, you better get a legal opinion on that,
Yeah,
because.
I talked to Jill and she said, if you're giving a COLA, it applies to, if you're calling it a COLA,
Yeah,
it has to apply to everybody.
Yeah, I think you have to go all the way, yeah. You can't
So
say,
maybe the lower
okay,
the-
well, we're gonna give it to you, but we're not gonna give it to you, or, yeah, we can't do.
Lower the COLA and give more merit money then. You know, change the COLA to a certain percentage and give the departments more money to give out, more merit money. I mean, I'm willing to give up mine for them. I mean, you know, realistically, they're the ones that put in the long hours and do the hard work. I mean,
I think that's something when we talk about salaries, that
Yes.
we can kick around and maybe do a portion COLA and do some that didn't get the other raises, and
I think there just needs to be some kind of adjustment done to be fair for everybody. That's just what I wanted to say. I don't really have any other issues, and I appreciate the 4%.
And I agree, Steve. I think to be fair, it doesn't have to be equal,
Right.
but to be
To
fair.
be fair, that we should get the same rights.
I think that's something we need to take into consideration when we get to the salary discussion. If it is a partial COLA and a partial merit, you know, find something, a happy medium, or
Yeah.
to where
I'm sure you all can figure something.
maybe everybody's a little happy and
Yeah.
not just one side's ticked off,
Yes,
so.
yes. Well, I appreciate that very much. I really do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well,
Okay,
That's all I really have, so.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
You're doing a great job.
Hey, Steve.
good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
What-
Oh, here we go.
Since you finished early.
I paid.
Oh, you made it, okay. Man, this is.
You know, the
sweet.
sheriff should
Oh,
have his bucket up here.
It's my revolving fund.
You know Larry and I did that, so it was on camera. We got proof.
You got evidence. You got proof.
so,
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you all. Is that it?
was that a horse race he was betting on?
Yeah, that's the Christmas ad money.
They make us pay extra to put our picture in with it.
Oh, just real quick.
Oh, it's cheaper if we don't put our picture?
You have that separate HAVA fund for
Yes.
years, and talking and trying to do some research, and Steve and I talked about that. There seemed to be no reason to keep that separate anymore, so.
Which fund is that, Mark?
Well.
Is it here?
It was like a fund kept within the general fund under Steve's budget, HAVA.
It was on page 32, it's called
Yeah,
HAVA on the.
HAVA fees, HAVA expense. I checked with other counties, I couldn't see any requirement to keep that separate anymore, so that some of those fees are.
What's HAVA stand for?
Help America Vote Act. So originally, when we got our equipment back in 2001, I think we had to put funds that we got from those back into that fund. And since then, we don't have them anymore. We purchased our own equipment since the federal government did the first, the hanging chad back in, I think it was 2001 or 2002.
Oh, yeah.
That's what brought all the electronic voting
Chad.
equipment in, was
Okay.
the hanging chad. So
Okay,
Now, you do occasionally get a specific grant
yes.
for that they, Secretary of State still calls it like HAVA, I think. And then we do.
That's what
put
we
that
call it.
Separate. But you have this kind of general HAVA fees account that I was just checking with some other counties, don't no longer do it. I couldn't see any more requirements to keep that separate, so.
There isn't. You could just go to general revenue.
Yeah, general revenue or your election services fund kind of serves a similar purpose, that that money has to be spent on election related kind of like those HAVA funds.
Yeah, it was like if somebody comes in and requests a voter list, we charge them $25 to put it on a CD. Well, then we would put that into the HAVA funds.
Right.
So wherever
As
you
I
want it
can
to
tell,
go.
that's probably more of a
It doesn't amount to
general
much.
fee,
Yeah.
like a kind of like a sunshine law request type of fee. Should probably just go into the general fund and
It's up
not
to
be
you all, because
restricted.
it doesn't amount to a
Yeah.
lot, so
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but.
Yeah, it wasn't much.
$1,000 or something.
But I just wanted to point out that is a change, and that would be a kind of accounting change that we agreed to. I proposed and Steve agreed to moving forward. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, is that it?
Yep.
All right, thank you, Mark. Thank you, guys.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you, yes.
So we want to move Larry from 11:30 to 10 o'clock, but I want to go get more coffee and get my,
You can if you want, I came up to here.
no, I just figure you're here.
If you're ready.
Yeah, let me,
we can
hold on.
work
I
on
got
it
it
now.
This is page 27.
If my
I'll be
forward
right
was he
back.
said, I can just play that back, listen to it a second time.
They may-
Should I sit in on your side?
I'm not paying you, though.
Are you just gonna
Damn.
move your lips to what he said?
Yeah,
They may need to hear it.
I hear you.
Pull up the budget just in case.
Is everybody coming up to pay the taxes, Larry?
Oh, yes, all the happy people.
Yeah,
How
that
many?
personal property, whoa.
How many pay online?
A lot. I don't know, it's gone up about $1 million every year.
Yeah, it's convenient.
So-
I mean, since we come up here anyway for a meeting, we can just drop it off, but we can do that in the other counties too. It's just so nice. You don't have to worry about driving across the county or whatever. Plus you have your receipt right then and there too, instead of mailing it in. You know, it didn't get lost in the mail and
I think next year we're going to, or at least we're working towards sending out electronic billings
Yeah, I
instead of
noticed.
paper ones. And
That was kind of nice, I noticed in
yeah.
mail about sign up for getting your tax bill next year electronic.
oh, well, I haven't opened mine yet. I was kinda scared too.
Would it be a public list, Larry? Would it be like email a public list where we could send maybe a sample ballot?
I don't know that the emails are public information. We don't consider them to be.
Is that something we could share in our office where we could make, email?
That's a possibility.
People a sample ballot?
Yeah. I wouldn't have an issue with that, but it's certainly not anything we would.
You want that if it's got a 12/1 date on it? Get rid of it.
Well, you did get paid
You
today.
damn people that post-date checks, I tell you what.
It's dated December the 1st.
It's not December the 1st.
Well, don't deposit it till then.
Change the date.
So how much is it to pay online, Larry, do you know? Is it like a $2?
Harry, whatever you want. I'm agreeable to.
It's got your name on the payee
Old
spot,
buddy,
so.
old pal.
Yeah. So online payment right now costs the taxpayer to do that, is that right?
If you use a credit card, and then there's just a flat $1.75 fee if you use e-check,
I got it, okay.
so.
So if they do it online, it's actually saving us money, but, so if they do it online, I mean, if we, instead of mailing them their bill and they pay online, we should be able to forego the $1.75 if they do e-check.
No, we don't get that fee, the bank does.
I know, but we
We
should
can
be
certainly
able to,
talk to
because
them.
if we don't have to mail it out, we're saving a stamp, an envelope, the printing. And if they pay online, it's there.
But that's the
But the
cost of
bank's going,
processing.
the bank's going,
I
well,
understand.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
We could forego.
That's not our fee, but it's
Yeah.
the bank's fee that we would
Well.
have to eat ourselves.
We would have to eat it.
So, it's worth $1.75 for me not to have to go
Oh, I agree.
to Miller County or Camden County and, especially out of town.
Bring my back thing in. You guys are a pain in.
They do. Even Miller County does it, yeah. I'm gonna say for $1.75, it saved me that much gas pulling out my driveway.
Just starting your car.
So, yeah. Cool, okay.
Okay, now, what page are we?
27.
20, what she said.
27.
Do you want to start, or should I start about the changes we made to the taxes?
You should probably start.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, on the collector's budget this year, we made a couple of significant changes. I guess the general fund property taxes had always been part of the collector's budget, and I kind of questioned why. I mean, Larry collects for, what, 30-some different taxing authorities, and also he collects for road and bridge. That property tax money goes to the road and bridge budget, not to Larry's budget. So, and Larry, the taxes, I mean, it just seemed to me more consistent to put the general fund property taxes in, like, over in the general category in 127 for just the general fund. So Larry was okay with that. So we went ahead and took that specifically out of his budget and put it over in 127. Same with the transfers in from the sales tax, or the EMS sales tax. That was also going into Larry's budget. You see the transfer in there. That is now 0. So it's just being accounted for in a different manner. The money's there and it will be there. But I just thought that, to me, that was a little inconsistency of the way Larry's budget was shown versus, compared to other offices or other funds. So anyway.
You'll see it on page 47. They will go over to that budget.
Okay.
Mark
Yep.
asked me why it was in there. I had no idea. It's one of those, that's the way it's always been things. And so I was fine with removing it. It actually gives to me a more accurate picture of what my office brings in for the operation of my office, and then what my expenses are for the operation of my office. Because actually collector's commission, collector's fees, and fees are designed for the operation running of the collector's office. So I bring in basically $1,145,000, and my office expenses are about $429,000 projected for 2023, which nets the county over $700,000. So again, I'm, just as Steve said, overall, my budget I'm very happy with. I am concerned about the salary issue. I put in more money, as Steve did, in his budget line item, but it was as part of the COLA, I'm assuming, is what
You asked for
Mark
higher
took that
COLA.
as.
I think you
higher
had like
COLA.
a maybe 5%
Yes.
COLA, not.
Still, we were asking for more money for our offices. I think if you're not gonna give it to us in the COLA, then it should be given some other way, because our employees, just as Steve said, and I think all county employees, the majority of all of them, other than some of those departments directly under you all, got raises mid-year, where our employees got nothing. The city gave out $2,000 for ARPA money to all the city employees, regardless of whether they were exposed to, had more exposure or not. And then they turned around and gave a $2,500 raise also, I believe, this year. So when we're trying to compete with the city and what the state pays, and the elected officials' offices keep falling further behind practically every year, because those other offices, and I'm not saying they don't deserve the money, but I think you got to keep it somewhat fair and equitable. And as Steve talked about, Kristen did a good job in getting us all the elected officials' offices pretty much on the same playing field. Not exact same amounts, but pretty similar, so that there was really nothing anybody had to complain about. But now this kind of blows it out of proportion. When I went through the budget, and I realized some of these offices are getting additional employees or whatever, but I saw that more than the 6%, the commission, the IS, court security, child support, juvenile, prosecutor, emergency management, parks, road and bridge, assessor, and then under the sheriff, law administrative, law supportive, law patrol, jail. I mean, juvenile was $200,000 more, prosecutor $50,000 more, emergency management $50,000. This is more than the 4% would have been. Because I took their last year's salary, added the 4%, and then just roughly rounded the difference. Parks, $14,000 additional, road and bridge, $21,000 additional, assessor, $200,000 additional, and I've already spoke to some of the commissioners about that. Certainly if
That's
he's
a lot of
hiring-
new employees in his request.
I
It's a number of
understand
new
that,
employees
and
in his
I'm
request.
not opposed with him getting new employees. I am opposed with him getting the money until the employees are hired. Because in previous years, he has gotten money for new employees, didn't hire anybody, and took that money and gave raises to his staff. Again, the rest of the county employees got cheated. And that's not fair, and one thing, it should be fair and equitable among county employees. The sheriff, the law administrative, $50,000 additional, law supportive, $160,000 additional, law patrol, $200,000 additional, jail, $300,000 additional. You know, I don't think any of us are asking for anything exorbitant, but we do want our employees to get a fair COLA and fair raises. If it has to be done as merit money, I'm fine with that. And if the COLA has to be adjusted and then do the merit money on top of that, I'm fine with that too, as long as it's somewhat equitable between those jobs that are similar between county offices, whether it's a elected official's office or an office that falls under the commission. So that's my request. I'm very appreciative of everything that the commission does for the elected officials, for our offices, but we're facing the same problems that you all faced all summer long and all fall, with offices repeatedly coming in front of you and saying, we need more money, we gotta pay our people more, we gotta pay our people more. And we just keep falling further behind, and you know, I talked to other county collectors, they're paying their staff starting at $20 an hour. I think my lowest paid one is probably about $16 or $17 an hour, and that's Bates County, which is a little bitty small county. So there's, you know, and I hate to even tell you what some of the collectors are making in smaller counties in Cole County. They make $10,000 to $20,000 more than Cole County is paying. So I think eventually you're gonna run into that same issue with getting qualified people to run for elective office. But that's a discussion for another day.
Well, you just can't retire.
But again, my request is that you, whenever it gets time to get into the discussions on salaries and what's going to be done, we'd certainly like to be included in that discussion and look at what can be done to help other offices besides, you know, the ones that have been getting money pretty regularly throughout the summer and fall and stuff.
Larry, I think your comments and Steve's comments are very reasonable, fair to make, and we need to consider them. A couple things, and not to put this off, but Debbie and I have been talking. The city did a salary study about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 17, that they've agreed. I've asked, and they're about to finish another one in a month, that we ought to say, what does it look like? Just to get more info about what's fair and reasonable. That's one thing. And so, not trying to put you off, because what you brought to the table is certainly deserving of consideration. The public administrator here downsized by one person. Is there ever any consideration, this is just pulling something out of the sky, of any of the other elected officials downsizing and using that savings to the existing employees that remain?
Well, I downsized years ago. I don't know, I'd have to go back to look to see. I think some of that money was, but I didn't use all that money. Actually, what I did at the time is I had an MOU with the commission, I believe at that time, that I was paying for an employee. I downsized and did away with that employee, and then I think also got some additional money for the employees I had. Again, that was probably 2010 or 11 maybe. I'd have to go back and look. I don't know if anybody else has done that or not. I mean, for me personally, it's, some of that's my mindset. I've always tried to be as lean as I could in my office.
Okay, that's fair. And I just think, looking at things from 50,000 feet sometimes, the technology we have now and how quick we can get numbers and answer questions, does that pay off later with one less FTE in Department X? It should. Ultimately, but anyway, to think about it.
That's where the salary study comes in too, is then they're going, well, you got 3 people in your office and you used to have 4, but you're like, okay, we're gonna add duties and getting them to do 3 people doing a job of 4, but then the salary study comes out and goes, well, this clerk is equal to this clerk over here, let's just give them the same money, when in reality, they're not. So the salary studies we don't stick to them once they come through. We did one year. Kristen went through a lot of exercises to get some salaries put together, and it wasn't a month later and we had somebody up here wanting to change some salaries already. So it's very frustrating because it's not a perfect
Hers was
science.
just a grid. It really didn't start with the job description.
Yeah, I was
But
gonna
it
say,
gave us
that's
somewhere to
what
start
they do.
with.
They
Yeah.
change the
But it
title, their
wasn't-
title.
And I think it kind of
And
kept
job
things
description,
somewhat
and it's like-
fluid, where the clerk's office not still in the collector's clerks and vice versa, or different areas. I mean, the health department, I think, eliminated a position one time and we upped some salaries, so.
And that may
But-
stay that way, but then in a couple of years, we're back to adding another person, so it doesn't.
I do know one thing, we did approve some salary increases, and we didn't discuss it in here. They came and talked to us each individually, and we had a pay form come through and we signed it. Didn't think anything of it at the time, but then once it was done and through, people see that and then we get questioned on. So that's kind of been my policy now, is if there's any adjustments, it has to come in front of the commission. That way everybody can see what's happening. It doesn't seem like we're trying to hide it. We weren't trying to hide it. We had a discussion. All we needed was a pay form. They didn't even have to come talk to us. They could have just sent the pay form through, really. But I think in order to sign it, we need to come up here and have it in front of everybody, and that way you can see what's happening too, and you know what's going on, so.
Well, and also for a small office, it's hard to define duties, because my people really need to be able to do everything, because you don't know when somebody's gonna be out. I've got 3 full-time and 1 part-time during most of the year. Somebody goes on vacation, then somebody's gotta be able to fill in all those holes. So how you really define what's a clerk 1 and what's a clerk 2, or when they all have to some degree, be able to do the same duties.
But I think that's all taken into consideration with the company that you do have they know what they're doing as far as getting the job descriptions, finding out how critical that person's job is overall to the functions of what you do. I mean, that's what they do. They come in and evaluate the job, from the job description all the way to the pay grid, and then the grid countywide, where everybody fits in the whole grid, so.
No, I thought we had the cities. I thought they gave us their 2017 one.
Yeah, I was trying to get the new one that they have, but they're not having it done yet. But I did have the 17, but I thought they had one in between there. but not according to Gail. So I
Yeah,
was
I don't-
thinking I was gonna check to make sure what she was gonna give me was the 17, actually, because I thought there was, they've been doing it quite often. We did have it done with, I think it was, I can't remember the name, what was the name of it? That study we had done, we just couldn't keep up with it. We were way behind. It took us 4 years to get
Archer?
people on, yes, Archer.
Oh.
Took us 4 years to get people on the grid, and then by then it was behind the market. So it was a good thing. I mean, we are throwing all kinds of money out here that I think we should be doing a study now and see what it looks like, or at least looking at the one from the city.
I'd look at the cities. I
you
spend a
gotta
lot
have
of money
something
on
to
a
back
study
up.
and it's still, your office does a good job and I'm sure they work as a team and they can all do each other's jobs too. So how do you say, you know, well, and the same with you. I mean, your people, they multitask. And when you're, you know, you multitask, who do you say, oh, well, this person should have more?
But you've got to take the person away from the job, and it's very hard to do for people that are here and been here forever. You have to have somebody else come in and look. You got to have somebody else come in and evaluate, and then put the market to the job description. You got to keep the people out of it, and you know, so it is hard, and that's why people go to outside vendors to get that done. Because, I mean, you can have a rock star, or you can have a way overqualified person in a job that doesn't take that kind of person. But good for you, you got you got a good person in there. But it has to look at the job first.
Either that or you have somebody that's really good writing a job description, because the Archer study, there was a lot of them that got changed just because somebody could write a really good job description and, well, yeah, that's equal to these duties, it should get more, and, you know, maybe somebody wasn't as good, and it didn't really reflect what that job entailed, so the years of service thing, I think, is something that is gonna be, really, we need to look at too, and reward people for staying with us and their loyalty and the experience that we maintain and we keep here, so the retainage is one of the biggest things, because every time you have to replace somebody, you're retraining and you don't have that history of their knowledge, so I heard everything you said, and you as well, Steve. The salary discussion is probably gonna be the most interesting this year.
Yeah.
One thing that we get is we bring people in, and you got a starting salary of 30,000. Well, there's no advancement unless there's a COLA or a merit. There's not like a clerk 1, clerk 2, clerk 3. You know, there's no advancement for these people. So normally, if you're working for the state or somewhere else, you can advance. You know, if you stay 3 years, you can make $2,000 more. If you're here 5 years, you make, you know, we need to get that progression, I think, also sometimes.
We did something like that with Public Works this year with their career path thing. They could have all new operators, they could have all operator 1s, or at some point, they could have all operator 4s. It's just gonna be dictated by how long they stick around, and whether that's good or bad, I mean, it's to be seen if it's gonna be detrimental or not, but it seems like having 4 operator 4s that are qualified to do these things instead of just paying them at a 1, 2, and 3, you're gonna keep them. So, I mean, do we do a career path countywide?
Somebody has something to look forward to, though. If they get hired, you're like, oh, if I stay for 3 years, I'm gonna be making this. If I stay for 5 years, I'm gonna be making this. You know, there is an advancement.
You have 1 clerk 1, 1 clerk 2, a deputy clerk, a chief clerk, and yourself. So you gotta wait till somebody above you is gone to advance, so.
I don't think that's fair, then you're losing your seniority. You're not advancing.
Right.
Yeah, COLAs are really no raise at all. I mean, it's designed to help you keep up with the cost of living increase, not to give you a raise in your salary. So when you do just the one, I mean, yeah, we're all grateful we're getting some more money, but it really doesn't reward us for doing a good job or learning more or taking on more responsibility.
That's where the career path and the years of service can come in to help, and, I mean, it's just, you don't wanna do it just for somebody just filling the seat, but if you got somebody that definitely earns it, absolutely. And then maybe some we might wanna look at countywide, you know, it's gonna take some money to do it. And that's what we probably gotta stop adding people and take care of the ones we got first off.
That would be good. Thank you all, I appreciate your time and
We'll see you up here when we start talking about
Yeah.
salaries.
Hey, Steve, would you give this, would you give this to Dawn?
Sure. You think we use everything else? Thank you all.
He didn't even give you money today.
I already gave it to him.
Because Gail hasn't sent it to me yet. Do you remember you said that?
I might.
Okay.
I thought I did.
Thanks, LV.
You ran a good office.
Thank you.
Larry.
Thank you, Sam.
We're back on schedule. Melissa Johnson.
Did we tell him show up a little ahead of time? Because if Nick gets here, we're a little ahead, so.
All right, we got,
All right.
we got Eric here. We're gonna shift.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
We can shift.
on the video, I thought I was next.
Stick around, we'll
No,
squeeze
stick
you in.
around. Melissa's just,
No, but we can work you in here.
yeah, we're
Usually pretty
good.
quick, isn't it?
Page 44.
Okay. So the only thing that I have that is changed is I don't generally get my maintenance quote until like November 18th-ish. So I just got that, and it did increase to 7626. So
That's in the equipment services contract
Yeah.
amount.
So that was just a little bit of an increase, and that's due to some ArcGIS Online licenses for maintenance, for health, environmental guys. We also have, Public Works has an ArcGIS Online, and the assessor's office does for some field work. So, not a big jump, but,
Is there something
I
else in, yeah.
yeah. I think that was.
Something else in your original narrative, that, I don't know if it's in your budget, but
No,
what was that?
I think-
can't remember what that was.
Is this what you're talking about at the bottom? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
consider that,
the
yeah.
Civic, the Civic Plus, that's not really in the GIS budget. That's kind of something separate since I maintain the website also. But that goes up like 5% increase each year. So I just was throwing that in there so that you'd be aware of what the potential new maintenance cost will be for that. And that'd be like 11,666.67 if my math is right with the 5% increase. And then the other thing I kind of just threw on here, Civic Plus just acquired a new product that helps to, it scans your website for accessibility issues or broken links and things like that, and it makes them really easy to fix. They really haven't released that product. They're gonna do it next year, but that's just something that I just want on the radar that I may come back to next year for, depending on the cost, because I think it would be a really helpful tool for us to, and sounds like it'll be really easy for the general person to use, which a lot of our offices do their own web updates and things. It'll also help them kind of see what accessibility issues that they're maybe need to pay more attention to. So accessibility is a pretty big deal that we really need to keep in mind to prevent lawsuits and just to help our citizens navigate our website and find what they're looking for, regardless of their abilities.
And that was not in this budget?
I don't
Is it-
have a
is it
price for that.
127? Or no, well, no, no, we didn't, I didn't add that.
Yeah.
this year.
Okay.
I don't have a
The
firm
other
price
Civic
on that.
Plus, what, that's in the 127.
Yeah.
I thought I checked those amounts, I thought they were pretty close to what we had.
I think I have it in
Yeah,
professional.
that's-
11,666.
We always have a question every year if the bill is correct, so I always have to go back and do the math. I'm like, okay, it was 5%. I have to remind myself what the percentage is every year that they increase and do the math. And so I thought I'm gonna do it ahead of time this time.
Yeah.
Hopefully I got it right.
I think we got that in there.
Okay.
Right, yeah, okay. But no, I did not add anything for the
Yeah.
additional product you just talked about.
Yeah, that was just something I just wanted to kind of put on the radar for when they come out with it next year and kind of settle on a price for it, then I may just bring it up, but.
Okay.
And I don't.
So how much, I mean, we had in there 11,666. How much do you think the Civic Plus, is that what you were talking about?
54 to 6,500 per year.
Yeah, that's what I'm estimating, because I had talked to the people that they purchased this product from, and that's kind of what they were estimating that it would cost, but.
Is that something we're gonna have to do at some point anyway to become ADA compliant on the
You know, our
website?
website gives us tools to be ADA compliant, but if people aren't actually, you know, cognizant of what they need to do
So
necessarily.
if they're blind and they're trying to find it, how are they gonna find it?
Yeah.
But this would help.
I
in
think
those
it will,
instances.
yeah, and like I said, when they come out with more information on, because I would rather go through Civic Plus because we already have a contract with them than go with an outside company.
I mean, we're gonna be the ones making the decision on it, so if we
Yeah.
wanna put it in there, we can put it in as a placeholder.
Yeah. I just think it'd be worth a look, and, you
Okay.
know, there's a lot of, you know, lawsuits apparently going on because of things like this not being ADA compliant.
Because their macaroni and cheese takes longer than 3.5 minutes to make. Is that what you're
Like,
saying?
I think we do a pretty good job
Is that
of
crazy?
trying
Did you hear she
to
had filed
keep that stuff,
400
you know,
different trivial
compliant,
lawsuits
but
like that?
it never hurts to have, you know, another set
You
of
know, in our
eyes.
training, when we were at Margaritaville, they were talking about sunshine requests and
Mhm.
stuff, and he said even your website, depending on what, you know,
Facebook,
Yep.
social media, they can ask for those records too.
Yeah.
So we have to really be very diligent on maintaining records and things like that. So, that's all I have.
okay. You're
You guys
good.
have any questions?
Do a good job.
Thank you, Melissa.
Even help out Brian.
Do you always get, when you answer the phone, do you always get, oh, he's not there? Is that the first thing that, oh, he's not there?
Yeah. People are really disappointed when I answer the phone. It kind of gives me a complex sometimes.
How am I feeling today? Do
Oh,
I
it's
pick up this
you.
call or not? Yeah.
Why are you
I was always
answering?
happy when you picked up.
I'm just kidding. Promote the plat book if you can.
Yeah.
Can we get one of those for our offices too?
Huh?
Can we get one for our office, or do you have?
There's some over there, I can bring you one though, and
I
I think
have
Carrie
one.
got one.
I have
Eric has
one.
Just
because
throw one on
we-
my desk whenever.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa.
Eric is
Okay,
page
Eric.
30.
Do I need to be up by the microphone?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
please.
Gotta be on the hot seat, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, Larry was 6'2" when he came
It
in.
helps if you pay your.
Good
morning.
Yeah.
You got my email. I think I sent one to you and Debbie saying,
Yes.
very pleased with 2023's budget, and so I don't really have any concerns, but you all may have some yourselves.
What
So
page?
30.
Is your office,
Your salary just reflects your salary now reflects 4% COLA.
is your office running a lot smoother now with the personnel change?
Yeah, it's a night and day. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Your budget just went.
Actually, Russell is doing exceedingly well. Mark had made the recommendation when we were kind of brainstorming. We had lots of time to get ready for his departure since he knew when he was going to leave approximately. And so one day he mentioned Russell, who came from the sheriff's office. And one thing we liked about him, was that he showed up on time and he was there every day, and he had accrued a lot of sick leave, and that's always a really good thing to have an employee. You never really know until they're with you for a couple of months, and he's just a great employee. And I was a little worried on the experience side, since Mark was explained to me this might be funny to you all, was funny to me when I was like, how can Russell do this? He doesn't know all this stuff, you know, he doesn't have the experience you have, et cetera, et cetera. And he said, well, Eric, I'm overqualified. And I keep forgetting that Mark was more than qualified for the job. And so when he said that to me, I realized that Russell had everything he needed to do the job, and that's exactly how it's worked out. I've been very pleased, because before I had Penny, you know, who had a degree in accounting, and then Mark with his CPA, et cetera. And Russell's just, he's very agreeable.
Certainly the CPA experience, I think, fits definitely what I'm doing right now.
Fair enough. Right.
All that is important with that job.
It would have fit if you were treasurer.
Well, yeah.
If you had been treasurer instead of, and I'd been the deputy. So. Any questions?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, can I mention something not to do with the budget, but it has a little bit to do with the subscription I have to the Financial Times, which is a British publication. Do you all know, have you ever heard of a gilt? Do you all know what gilts are?
That's a female hog, isn't
That's really it.
Well, that wasn't
Gilts today are going for $2.47 a pound.
That wasn't the direction I was wanting it to go, but gilts are basically Britain's version of U.S. Treasuries. And a couple weeks ago, they had what would be a nightmare for us as commissioners, as elected officials, if the U.S. Treasuries went the way that British gilts went. That's their treasury. That's their, government debt instrument. So if you want to buy debt and get a return, you buy a gilt there, you buy a treasury here. And there was a rush for people, particularly pension investors. Pension firms, I guess here it'd be like Mosers, Loggers, Surf. CalPERS would be like one of the biggest ones out in California. Versions of all those institutions in England rushed to the market to sell their treasuries, their gilts, because values of the stocks that they held plummeted, if I've got this right. And so they had to sell their gilts, their treasuries, in order to backstop or provide some sort of asset to pay pensioners what they're due.
They had a liquidity issue.
A very big, almost catastrophic liquidity issue. That's the word. And so I've been thinking, between what happened in Britain just a couple weeks ago, and then most recently with the FTX cryptocurrency exchange, if you all heard, billions of dollars evaporated because the asset that everything was valued on, this FTT Bitcoin or whatever it is, cryptocurrency, turned out to be a hollow nothing, right? And you could make the argument, as unpleasant as it could be, that gilts had the same problem in England, that there was a thought among people in the market that the government wasn't going to be able to pay either the interest on those gilts, or that people wouldn't be buying government debt in the future at the same rate, which would be catastrophic. And they worry about that in Japan, I think, now too. But between the gilts and between FTX and what's going on in the prospect of what could go on in Japan, I think they're the closest mirror to what could happen in Britain. Japan, in many ways, is similar. Their market, and they have like a 300% debt ratio from their government debt to their annual GDP. Is like a 300%. They're in debt 300%. We're in debt about 90%. The United States is, I think, close to 100% now. But my point is that I'm going to meet with the bank sometime this year or early next year and go over, what if something like that happened in the United States? We always say, you know, that treasuries are backed by the full faith, what's it called, the full faith, what's that?
Full faith and credit.
Exactly, full faith and credit of the United States government. And that goes without question and always has, you know, that treasuries are risk-free or nearly risk-free. And I just want you all to know that I'm paying attention to the possibility, you know, in the next several years, because of inflation, because of enormous government debt, because of some of the scenarios that have happened in England and elsewhere, there's no reason for us to believe that it could never happen here. And if it did happen here, then our, you know, 40 or so million in the bank that's collateralized with a U.S. bank up in Minneapolis, that we might not have to worry about that. And I think, I just want you to know as treasurer, I am thinking about it and studying it and paying attention to it, because it would be a nightmare if something like that happened here, what happened in England a couple of weeks ago. So, has nothing to do with my budget, but I thought I'd bring it to your attention.
You do expect interest rates to remain high or similar levels next year as they have been?
Yeah, the Federal
That's what I'm
Reserve.
budgeting. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not in your budget specifically, but in
Yeah.
the government budget, overall budgets.
Yeah,
For
we're-
interest
right, we're at four-
revenue, I'm counting on about the same level of return in 2023 as we've been getting in 2022.
Right, it'd actually be a little more. The Fed's at 4% now. Chairman Powell has indicated he's going to push increases until they get inflation under control. So instead of 75 basis point changes, that the increases that they've had the last three meetings of the FOMC, the Federal Open Markets Committee, it looks like this next time in December, it'll go up 50 basis points, 0.50%. And they'll probably do that again early next year, 50 basis points. And then sometime in the spring and summer, it should, if inflation shows that it's slowly ticking down, then they'll go to 25. So we're still, you know, 3 or 4 more increases away from stopping the increases. So that, for our point of view, that's good, yeah. If you're trying to borrow, that's not so good, but if you're trying to buy a house or a car.
Good
So,
for home builders.
And if you got a minute, if you wouldn't mind me throwing this out since we got a little time. Our current banking agreement with Central Bank gives us only 0.75% on the first 15 million, 15, 14, 15 million.
no,
What is it?
no, that was the old one. Yeah,
You sure about that?
Yeah, now it's, I should have looked at it before I came. No,
Was that on
no,
your
you're
last
right.
email?
It
Yeah.
used to be 30 million,
Yeah.
right? And then 30 to 35.
Right.
And then above was the overnight rate.
Yeah.
That was the old one. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
operating on
The
the
other
old
one, we got
Yeah, that's right.
a higher rate on the first 30 million, then less as we went along. This agreement, because interest rates were practically zero
Yeah.
when we bid it out,
Yeah.
they gave us a guaranteed 0.75, 3/4% on the first, I think, 15 million.
I think you're right, yes.
Well, right now, that doesn't look so good.
No.
And most years, correct me if I'm wrong, you bid it out, you can bid it out every 2 years, but then you can renew it an additional 2 years. So normally we've had 4-year, the same agreement, 4 years in a row.
Because they've been so attractive, right?
Might be worth our time to rebid that.
It would be.
Next year.
There's no doubt,
Because
yeah.
we've got that only 0.75% guaranteed on the first 15 million.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
I think it would be worth our while to
It is
get
worth
new
our while,
bids
right,
next
yeah.
year after the initial 2 years is up. So.
Do you all understand that?
Yes, I mean, we're sitting on so much cash
Yeah.
right now. And it's invested at, in some cases, low rates. And it's scary. I mean, it's dangerous to say to the public, we're sitting on all this cash. But it's.
But you all intend to use it for.
Absolutely.
something, yeah,
It's,
right.
it's designated in many cases to go to roads. The sheriff has got his own,
Right.
so on. And some of it's just a timing difference. We have it
Right.
now, but we won't have it later.
Yeah.
And not because we're gonna up our expenses, it's just that, it's just the way it works.
Right. ARPA money that we've got in the bank right now.
Yeah, the
that
ARPA money, you know,
unspent.
has ARPA, any of our money actually been spent, except for the inside?
Yes, we spent close
I mean,
to
we haven't sent many
600,000.
checks out. Sorry?
600,000-700,000.
Okay.
Between premium pay and.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
We're probably up to $1 million,
Right.
so.
But there's somewhere in the teens of millions of dollars of ARPA money invested today as we sit here.
Mhm.
It's gonna go away as we expend out of
We
there.
got about 13 million cash in ARPA.
So we
Right.
spent about
Right.
2.
And whatever it does earn, we're free to spend anywhere. It's not like the old CARES money where any earnings on CARES had to be spent on CARES. Any earnings on ARPA can be spent anywhere.
Outside of ARPA, too.
Outside of ARPA, yeah,
Yes.
right. Okay.
But we're keeping
Yeah,
it
when
there.
the treasurer calls it excess cash, that's really not, that does not capture the real essence of that, of those funds from different accounts. Excess cash is a catch-all phrase, and it doesn't imply that we have that money and we don't need it. It's in our possession, we're not needing it. It's, I'm sure you all, between plans for some new construction or renovation or other stuff, you all have a big chunk of that excess cash actually is already,
Mhm.
you know, you all are always trying to figure out how best to spend that money, so. Y'all need anything else from me?
Was there a time when you were looking for another publication that you didn't get? Or do you have all the publications you want?
I was looking for Financial Times and you all gave it to me.
Oh, okay, all right, we're good.
Over Jeff's opposition. It worked out really well. I got what I wanted and you had.
Gotta have one
Well,
more in there.
I get the Wall Street Journal, but I paid for mine.
Why don't you just bring it in the office and give it to Eric? You could share.
Or he could bring his over.
He has notes in the margin, I don't want to read the rest.
Thank you.
He's got the coloring book edition.
Mark, for the first 30 million. For the first 30
I
million.
thought I saw Nick.
The T-bill rate, 16.
If Nick's out there,
The new
is Nick out there?
He's in the rest of
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can get him, and he was at 11,
He's on page 87.
yeah. And then we can do our capital improvements.
That was old for me.
Well, it said 21 on it. I'll have to go back. I'll email it to you.
I'll show you the most recent interest spreadsheet we get from Central Bank. There it is, first 14 million, we get a fixed rate of 0.75%. From 14 to 40 million, we get 75% of the 90-day T-bill. And then anything over 40 million, we get the overnight rate. So-
There's that superior,
That was a pretty good turn of phrase they used yesterday.
yeah.
We'll give you
Oh.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, is it
Ye-
time for me?
Yesterday at the
Okay.
signing.
If you're ready, yeah.
At
we're
the
ready.
signing of the agreement between the Army Corps of Engineers and DNR, the DNR director was talking about the north side of the river and the south side of the river. He said, well, it affects the north side a lot more, but he said, you know, on Jefferson City, see, he lumped you as Jefferson City. But he says their emergency management is so superior, we don't really, and I'm like, so.
It was very kind of him, and I think a lot of
Yes.
those words came from our
Yeah.
review partners when they did their interviews.
So we have to bow to.
Goodness.
I bow to one
Mr.
God.
Okay, go ahead.
Page 87. So, kind of in your court, Nick.
Oh.
As far as anything, any items you want to talk about specifically, anything you think we need to change, things like that. So.
Well, thank you, Mark. Good morning, everyone. As I'm looking at this, it looks as if this is nearly everything that I submitted. And so I believe that it's in good working order. I think the largest increase is in our salary line item. And of course, this year I was able to get through EMPG a position available that is granted for a deputy director. I used what I believed would be an appropriate salary to try to gain a person for full-time employment, someone who has some experience, and that it would give them the ability to see this job as desirable. And I'm hoping that that line item in particular gets approved.
So what was that salary?
That's $50,000.
Yeah, 50,000 even is what he's asking for a deputy director is what they call it.
Yeah, that gives 4,000 buffer. I believe that's where I started, is 54. And so that would give a 4,000 buffer between the two positions.
And that will be funded partially or in whole by a grant? I figured that would-
Yes, 50/50 is through the
50%.
EMPG, and then I'm still working with the city, as it was not added in their budget, but I've had a meeting with both Chief Schofield and with Chief Wilde of the police department. And the emergency management line item comes from Chief Wilde's budget, and so he plans to make an amendment to cover those costs, so that we'll still have the cost share with the city.
So then what additional duties are we gonna be doing for this position? Because I don't see the need for the position. We've talked about it before, and that's what I'm asking about, is where the need for this position, because the EMPG, is that right? They will fund half of it. That's one thing, but we're still funding a huge portion of it. And then the city would have to agree to it as well. So are there things down at the city that you're gonna be doing? I mean, what's the sale on additional? Because we've never had any more than what we got.
Right. I think as we look at not only the, our area, but the region as a whole, we are the only first-class county that does not have a deputy director position. Both of their deputy director positions are full-time. There's a lot of things that go onto the back burner because there's only myself as the emergency planner. Tracy does her part and is good at what she does, but she does not cover meetings, anything that happens after hours. If we have community engagement events, it would be nice to have an extra set of hands so that things can also continue to work at the office. If I am at a community event, any of the work that I am working on up to that point just ceases until I can get back to the office to continue. It also would give us, more hands in the engagement. We currently don't have a good education program where we have any of the civilians come in and actually try to do any sort of emergency planning or engagement at that level. I would like to see more of that. I think if we were to have someone who's a trained emergency manager, who understands the process, they would be able to, hold those classes and be able to engage more at that community level. I also think having someone else to, bounce ideas off of that understands the planning processes. There's a lot of things in which we do with like our equipment and storage that, we have to maintain those items as well. And so having someone else that gives us the ability to not just rely on me and my memory to make sure that those items are getting taken care of, not only moving around, items within the storeroom, but reordering and doing like equipment maintenance and make sure all the tires on all the equipment is taken care of. That would be what I would see as a major benefit, is just that, we currently have things now that I believe kind of sit on the back burner until I get time to do them. So it would give me extra hands to get those items accomplished and just make emergency management more efficient for both.
Well,
the
when
county
I
and the
read
city.
your weekly report, I mean, you're doing a lot. And like yesterday, I mean, you know, I think, hopefully we'll be working with the Corps and the DNR on this flood. And you could maybe even let him be over the equipment, so, you know, he can manage the equipment so that if, you know, somebody needs the MEAC, you know, that fire was, you know, Saturday evening, it was strange, but there's times when just having you isn't gonna be enough.
It would help out a lot also with EOC activation, and I haven't seen that here in my short time. You know, I've only been here for 13 months. And so it would be nice to have that extra set of hands. When we did deploy to Woolridge, I deployed with the MEAC, but I left, you know, around 4 a.m. in the morning. And so it would be nice to have someone else rested and then come in and be able to continue that. We have a great group of volunteers, you guys know that, but, you know, in making sure that the incident is supported through our other emergency management partners, in having just that extra bit of help would have really helped out in Woolridge. And I know how rare it is that we get those instances, but if we do open the EOC, it would help out
Yeah.
physically here in Jeff City as well.
So with this 50,000 deputy, we've got the grant and then the city pays part. So what actually does it cost the county to have this the deputy?
I know that our benefits is 40% of that, and I'd have to do some math to figure
It'd
that
be
out.
12.5 plus the percentage of benefits.
Right.
Yeah, so, I mean, to me, that's,
But those other grants, they have a limit of what it covers, right? So your grant is only like 60,000 or 70,000. So anything above that is still on the counties to share with the city on some of your accounts. There's still a limit to what they're gonna cover.
Yeah, EMPG is broken up into kind of like budget line items. And so what we get approved for has a top limit that what they cover. You know, the good thing about salary benefits and some of those costs is we kind of already know what that is going to cost, you know, annually. But we're also at I don't even know if you would call this a disadvantage, but because our grant cycle no longer aligns with our fiscal year, that changes because we have to plan about 6 months or so ahead of time in planning for what we'll need to start in at the end of this year, which for this cycle would be 2023. So I'm actually, for EMPG, I would start the process around May-ish, and then basically try to predict the future for what we're going to need through the end of 2023 into 2024.
These two new grant award, is that in the budget? I was gonna ask you today, is that you just?
No,
You
those-
just traces, so we should,
Right.
we would need to add that
Yes.
to your budget,
Yep.
estimated revenues, okay.
Yeah,
These
and we
grants.
just received the signatures back from Sandra Carson on those, so.
Okay. And are these for specific items that these are?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we put specific items in the grant.
Okay.
You can, you know, if we, let's say those items were no longer available and we needed to, you know, submit an adjustment to that, we could. But for the most part, that is the monies that we're gonna receive.
So this
And
is
that's
on both
100
revenue and expenditure side of both?
Yes.
Because these are designated for specific
Correct. And it's-
items that are not in your overall budget?
Yes,
Correct.
that's
Okay.
correct. And also, those are 100%, but they're reimbursable.
Yeah,
So,
okay, thank you.
So a couple of things you were talking about was the community engagement events. You know, that's just part of the job. And then the education programs. I think we've got Hazmat that's had a lot of community engagement deals, and they are out there educating the public and stuff on it. And I think they would be probably glad to jump in on some of that stuff too. They bring that big truck out there, and you know, people see that and they always wonder what all's going on with that. And the big truck we set up for the fair, and well, used to for downtown Jeff City too, for 4th of July and things. I can't think what the acronym is now for it.
That's
but
a MEAC?
MEAC, yeah, there you go. I mean, a lot of that's just part of it, so, I mean, you're saying the hours, how many hours are you putting in a week, and then how many hours would the deputy be putting in a week, and what's that gonna take off of what you have to do? I mean, is your scope of work that much that we have to have another person?
There's certainly more that can be done. I think we're concentrating it a lot on volunteers and their time and effort. You know, we have to be respectful that, you know, even though I suggest to them that there's events at which they can sign up to and go to, they don't always agree. I've had a couple this year that they could not or did not want to sign up for. So although, you know, we can use them as a good tool to engage the community, they also have a very specific message, or should have a specific message, for hazardous material incidents and maybe the prevention of releasing or you know, having those type of fires. I think, if I'm to understand the question correctly, it's about, do I have enough to give to the person that we would hire?
How many hours a week do you put
To
in?
actually, well, I mean, at minimum, I put in 80.
Okay,
And
so
then,
then it's
or,
gonna be-
sorry, a week, 40. And then, you know, there are times at which we have extra things that go on.
But it's not a
either
40-hour
after
week
hours or
job.
after.
I mean, that job.
He's on call all the time.
Yeah, you know,
So
and
it's-
and I'm pretty good at answering emails and phone
Yeah.
calls after hours. I mean,
I'm
there's
not talking
there's-
about just phone calls and emails and being
Well,
on
but I
call
mean,
after
but-
hours. There were always community events that the predecessor has been involved in. He's been able to handle it all himself. So I'm trying to figure out what additional duties we have or what hours we're gonna need, because there's, I mean, a lot of it's after hours.
Well, and I'm not the only one
So-
to request a deputy director as well. I know through paperwork that I have that Bill requested one. I mean, this isn't a brand new topic that Nick's bringing up. This has been something that I think is a need for emergency management for at least the last couple of years. We're serving a community of over
I
77,000.
don't think it was needed back then, and I don't think it's needed right now. There's a lot of communities that their emergency planner is a fire chief, a police chief, or something like that, and they still are able to do their job, so I don't know where, maybe then that should be the planner, and then you could be the deputy chief. Maybe we need a deputy chief instead of just having a chief plan, or a planner. So I don't see the need for another position in there right now. Or if we do, we've got 2 positions right now, so I would think that the stuff could be getting done. So,
It's not a deputy.
the stuff I'm hearing him say a deputy director is gonna do is stuff that he should be doing, and some of the stuff that he says he's not able to do, Tracy should be able to do.
Well, he
Tracy-
also represents the city, so it's not just Cole County. As
So
DNR
then let's
director
have the
said
city
yesterday.
come up here and discuss
Your Jefferson City Emergency Management. I disagree with you, Jeff. I think.
That's not the first time.
I think being a one-person department is,
It's
in
not,
these
it's a
times-
2-person, you have 2 people there now.
But basically Nick is doing everything. You know, when you read his weekly
So then we should
report-
eliminate the other
No,
position.
Tracy is doing paperwork, doing things like that. What
Right.
he's talking about, deputy director is going to not be doing the paperwork, but is
That's
going to
part of
be
the job.
doing,
Writing
say, work
grants.
with, you know, SEMA and DNR
That's
on
what that
this.
job is.
And, you know, one of the things, talking to the director of DNR afterwards, you know, Weir's Creek is, you know, they're looking at Weir's Creek too, but I don't think I don't know what you can do with it. And, they mentioned Boggs Creek, but I think there's definitely enough that a deputy director can, be of service and really,
I just disagree. I think that's part of the job. I think that there's other stuff that Tracy can be doing. We can throw stuff on her lap to help with it. And, you know, I'd look to, if she's doing the administrative stuff, there's gotta be more stuff, because we've got some grants here and there. If you're at meetings, you got somebody that they can contact. if you're going to trainings and stuff, so.
So Tracy's job is very specific in that, you know, she does handle, and I've, I don't want to say made her uncomfortable, but I've definitely opened up more things at which she's used to doing. And, you know, we've had that, there's training opportunities in that as well. So I know with grants management that my predecessors have taken on a lot of the managing of those grants. I have taken on the applying for the grants and have set down the managing of them to Tracy, as I think that's, you know, more suited for what she knows in the financial side of things. You know, having her along with me as we did our outreach at the Homeless Connect event here in Jeff City was nice. But again, you know, anytime we have an event which involves both of us, you know, that just means that now all calls get forwarded and it's a slower response to things and whatnot. So I agree that Tracy does do a very valuable job, but she is not an emergency manager.
Well, we've got an emergency manager. I mean, that's you. We don't need two of them. How many hours are you putting in a week then? So you're saying you're putting in 120 hours and you need to back off to only 80 hours? Or?
No.
And I don't see this as hours.
Well, this year, we think that at the end of the day, emergency management is subsidized, or the county has to shell out about $84,000. Is that correct?
Yeah, projected for this year, 84,000.
And projected for next year under the budget is?
79,000.
Right. Okay.
That includes the building, parking, rent, and everything on that? Because I don't think we're getting our full 25% from the city yet either. I don't know if that's something we talked about. Have we approached them? And because we've had some increases in the building fees, stuff like that. They're supposed to be paying half of the half.
Well, you do have a point. All the building expense comes out of Greg's budget, most of that, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't know what it costs.
Maintenance budget, not out of this budget, so yeah.
But,
I know
well, I
what you
mean, well,
meant.
that's a good point. Maybe there should be a discussion between the county and the city as to how much the city should be contributing to the operation of the department. Tracy is a non-exempt employee, right? So, I mean, if you tell Tracy, hey, cover civic meeting X on Tuesday evening, it's an overtime thing, unless she took off that afternoon.
Right, and I'd have to look to make sure, job description wise, because I believe if we add a task, she needs some sort of period at which to adjust to that.
It's substantial. I mean, if it falls into that other duties as assigned, minor, you know, differences in job, no.
Okay.
There's no grace period or warm-up.
I mean, you really can't expect her to take your PowerPoint presentation on subject X and take it to the civic group and go through it with, she's not trained to do that, or is she?
Right, no, I wouldn't trust her to do that.
Right, or expect her to.
Expect her to.
Right. I'm more aligned with Sam on 2023 here than I am with Jeff.
Damn it, I'm gonna lose one today already. Well, this isn't over yet. We
Okay,
still got
it's
all
not
the
over yet,
budget to
but
go through.
that's where
All
I
right,
am.
we can move on to the next thing. We'll be able to talk more about it.
Anything else to
That was,
add or change?
that was the only
Changes
thing
other
that
than
I
adding
had.
those two grants?
Right, that's correct.
Can I add a deputy director to my position too for next year? Because I got a lot of meetings I need to send them to,
We were thinking of downsizing.
especially after hours.
Well, I'll tell you, as I'm looking at, you know, grants here.
Gotta
I
have
haven't-
somebody here to lose a vote once in a while.
I haven't added in everything, but I did have some numbers here, and I think these are pretty good. It looks like, if I totaled this up correctly, that for grants this year, we got $356,041.26. A lot of that comes from RSOC, which of our region, there was $351,000 $351,059.19 available, of which we took $161,846, which is 46% of, and that handles both the MEOC and our hazmat team is considered HSRT, which is a response team with Department of Homeland Security. So I think that that's pretty good. I kind of hang my hat on that. That's pretty good return for grants.
How old is that MEOC? And we've had it,
Since 2002, I believe.
so we keep upgrading the radios and the equipment and everything.
I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay.
Yes, and in fact,
Yeah.
we should be fully upgraded within the next month with the ARPA purchases
Okay.
for radio equipment, and there's some other purchases we've made here to make sure we have the right cable.
Yeah, I'm sure it doesn't have any miles on it, so I mean.
No,
I think
no.
it should last us, but the equipment, we keep upgrading.
And when we went to Cape Girardeau to have our exercise, the nicest part of showing up at a statewide event is having people come to your trailer or your vehicle and wanting to look inside your vehicle.
Yeah.
I don't know how many groups from the event completed, they call it the MESL, which is the event list, that tells them all their tasks. But we completed the MESL before the end of the event on Sunday at noon. So it was pretty impressive. It's a good asset to have.
I did want to point out a change in accounting method.
Oh.
Separate fund, if you look at page 88, the LEPC, CEPF funds, on January 1, we're going to put that in a separate fund. It's just, I'm not trying to be critical of my predecessor, but she had a few things she accounted for within the general fund, which meant we had to keep separate Excel spreadsheets to account for that and make sure that got put in the budget that way. Well, if we can put this in a totally separate fund number in BS&A pretty much does all the work for me for keeping that separate. So Nick was okay with this. We're going to put that
And I believe
money in
the
a separate fund.
Missouri Response Commission prefers it that way. So
Okay.
this is actually a preferred method.
Yeah, I've seen this separate fund in other counties too, so.
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you all very much for your time.
But you are superior. Yeah. Your department is superior.
Well, thank you, Sam.
Wanna keep it,
I
we wanna
appreciate
keep
the,
it. We're gonna keep them thinking that.
Well, they were very kind to even point that out, and I think it was because of talking to the MU team. Those guys were really nice. So
Yeah.
You'll enjoy your chat with them.
Okay, would it be capital?
Capital improvement sales tax?
So, yeah.
Greg is usually a big part of it, but
Oh.
we can talk about it.
Well,
We can give him a call, he's probably putting up Christmas lights.
Well, I mean, we could talk about what he's got on here.
No.
Greenery.
I can't talk him into that one.
Oh, I forgot that. Yeah, that's right.
I don't know, so we're gonna have.
If they have specific questions,
We're
we
gonna
won't be
have
able to
to
answer
revamp.
them.
Yeah.
It's on page 120.
That's really the gist of it right there, that
Right.
list, yeah. That's,
Yeah. So again, what we usually do is there's a placeholder amount. We budget. We don't budget for every one of these items that are on here. We make them come back to you after the year starts, ask you if we can bid these things out, ask you if you're ready to go forward with some
What
of
page
them.
are we on?
120.
Sorry.
While we're going down the list and see question marks, is the bell tower working, or do we have to call the Back from the Future people to come in?
That's a great question. I thought it was, but then we had
Does it
some
stop
trouble with
again?
it.
It hasn't worked for 3 weeks, I don't think. It's been at 5 to 1 for a long time.
Oh.
I haven't heard the ding-a-ling lately, I don't think.
Okay, once in a while, I gotta bounce, kinda like us in the morning. Gotta
Do you go up there and
kickstart us,
crank that
so
thing up once in a
just give
while?
that big old
No,
weight a
but
shove.
some of Greg, we do go.
Yeah, I've been up there before. It's a scary thing.
Yep.
It's a scary thing. It's a scary thing to get up in.
I think that's a new job we're giving to the auditor.
No,
What's
we
that?
give it to the new emergency management,
Oh.
deputy director.
I will say items with question marks or items that
There's
kind
not
of on
money.
on the list of things that could be done, but not enough money in the budget for.
Well, why don't we
available
change
for
that
runway.
tear down number for Old Jail? We've got a new number there.
Yeah,
Yeah, new number.
187,000.
180 Oh, 187,000,
Yes,
not
yes.
1 million?
We had Aaron's who's here looking at some of the city's the buildings on Capitol Avenue. So we had them
And
do a walkthrough. and-
change the title or nomenclature there from Old Jail to Old Jail / Sheriff's House.
Okay.
So there's no question about it's both facilities or
Okay.
both
Sure.
structures.
Carnegie, we misspelled, so. we
I
had-
think, I saw that too.
That
Make
was
it
from
one,
Shore.
it's 187 and change.
187 and some
Make-
change.
Make it 188.
Yeah,
188, okay.
yeah.
And then Public Works, so if you want to add that under there for Parks mower, they
That was a
added.
30,000, yeah.
And then they also added the county park parking lot for 150,000.
Oh, that's right.
So again, this is just to give you an idea of things that people are requesting, and then they would put it in here, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't get hardly any requests from just different offices. this
Hey, when
year.
you rerun this, have a column for 23 capital requests and then just for grins, put the 22 number next to it.
Okay.
You know, these would be different projects, though.
Well, and different, some of them will have 0 in one and 0 in the other, but, I mean, like to, some of these are getting kind of long in the tooth, you know?
Right, some of these have been in there previous years.
Right.
So it gives you an idea, we're closing the old sales tax, moving everything that would be in there over to the new 5-year, because we'd like to keep it separated by each 5-year section. So there will be potentially, there's quite a bit of money in there. I mean,
Oh,
over the line item. What you
We
got?
really haven't done anything since 2019 because COVID just brought everything to a
I mean,
screeching halt.
we should easily
And,
carry forward $3 million
yeah.
in cash. to start
And,
the year. That's fine.
We've done stuff. We've done.
We have,
stuff.
yeah, we've done
Adams, we've done
209.
Carnegie. We've
Yeah,
had some stuff in there. We've had some
Yeah.
other stuff that's been hanging out there for a long time. And if you're talking about taking down the old jail and the sheriff's house, we probably need to have a separate meeting to talk about our plan after that.
yeah.
Because if we're going to, we can go through a lot of money real fast, going back up with something. So
Right.
that's a whole other discussion,
Yeah.
but it's not a bad time to
And I
have it.
think we're getting a price on the HVAC here in the annex because it's, yeah, my office used to be just toasty and now it's kind of cold. I'm not getting.
Oh, yesterday, it was, after you left yesterday, you could smoke meat in it instead of
Oh,
hanging
really?
meat.
Yeah, see, I
Yes.
didn't,
We'll have to be careful about that, because that will have to be bid too.
It was hot. I dropped a folder in there and I came out sweating.
Did you turn it up before you trying to heat it up and then
Right.
turn it back down?
well, you just sit there in your DVDs and.
No, like you, I won't do that.
Well, that's part of the problem, is having that, is not his BVDs, but you have some people, their unit's so hot, they have to open the window.
Yeah.
And we've got all our energy going outside, out the windows, and it's gonna save us money in the long run.
Yeah.
I know there's a building here in town too, that they're having the same issue, because somebody else is renting at a state agency now, and they've moved walls and stuff. But they've actually added units to the tune of, 6 figures, not 7 figures, and, 100,000 instead of $1 million. So I don't know who we need to get in here to take a look at that, and just to find something economical.
I think Greg has had, somebody
He's had
has
somebody
taken,
come in.
has looked at this system.
That was the-
I don't think
He's
we
kind of doing a
have,
study of it now to figure out which would be the best
yeah,
solution.
yeah, so I think we're gonna be here regardless. I mean, it's not gonna be a courtroom.
And that was the
This
main
isn't-
thing, is if something was going to happen structurally, then we were putting off the heating and air conditioner in this building. But if that is the plan, to basically be here for a while and no office changing, big office changing, then you might as well put the new heating and
Yeah,
cooling in this
I think
building.
it works for the clerk, it works for the collector, it works for the recorder. We need to give the auditor more
It'd be nice
space.
to have the assessor and collector together. I
Yeah.
Still occasionally hear complaints,
Oh,
that you gotta
please. You know, I
go
just
from
moved
one
here
building to the other. Yeah.
A year ago, and I had to go to who did I have to go, the assessor first?
Assessor first.
And I had to plug my quarter in the meter. And she says, now you have to walk around the corner and go to the collector to get your waiver. And I'm like, what? She goes, you don't have to drive, you just walk. I'm like, good, because I just put my quarter in there. And then you don't have to pay anything over. But anyway, besides that, it's like, maybe that would be a really.
I've heard that
Yeah.
complaint
Well, we
several
need,
times over the years.
yeah, the office you have is not.
So having a plan would be better. So like 4 million within the sales tax and keeping a couple 100,000 for computerization. And then you also have some on page 47, you have some capital budgeted in there that we budgeted for several years, which is another 5
You
million.
talk about computers and furniture, and that's another thing, when you go and add another person, you're gonna have to have an office for that person, you have to have desk, computers, so it's not just that cost, so how much of that's taken care of in that grant, so. I know we kinda jumped away from that, but that brings up another issue. So it's not just that 25% of 12,500 of the salary that we're eating.
And we may be adding more to this list depending on what the next 2 days brings for people asking for something for capital. We'd like to keep it in here as much as we could.
Well, didn't we
I
give the chairs to, it seems like we have chairs on our request.
That's for, oh, that's.
Everything
yeah,
but the
recorder.
kitchen sink, and we even got the kitchen sink
Oh, that's
here.
on there.
Yeah.
So when she comes, we may get her cleared
Yeah.
out.
$950, so we have to track it. Should have 2 chairs.
Okay, well, unless you
Yeah,
want to jump
more-
to any
yeah,
other
like I said,
ones.
with Greg and then Brian's budget will be,
TV.
Oh,
certainly more.
how you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
What are you up to?
My name's Ethan, I'm with ABC 17.
Oh, hi Ethan,
Oh.
we have nothing today.
Oh.
We have nothing today.
I've been watching the stream the past couple hours and they sent me down there with lots of questions.
You were that bored, huh?
Okay.
We don't want it, no.
What questions do you have?
I don't even know. So.
They didn't give
Uh,
questions back?
I did email you guys the salary study for the city.
I just saw that. Yeah.
But that is in black and white. If you like the color version because it was too big to email, is on your drive in the commission budget drive.
It's actually a 2016,
Yes, 2016,
so it's almost
yes.
Almost 70.
Yep.
obsolete, yes.
So I will then send the new one as soon as they have it in about a month.
We could tell the clerk and the collector, we got good news and bad news. We've adopted, we believe you, and we've adopted a schedule, but it has 2016 numbers in it.
Be careful. That's probably still higher than us.
Be careful.
So, yeah, so if you're gonna do that study and you go by that study, then everybody has to adhere to it. That's my underlying condition.
Everybody in your office has to take a $2,500 cut.
So, yeah, if the study comes back and says that, are they gonna be willing to take a cut? I'm betting not. And then they have to, like I said, they gotta go by that study. Then we'll get to come back up here and go, oh, well, I forgot to mention that this person does this.
Well, and that's the whole thing. If you're gonna do a salary study, the departments must be forced, basically, to do job descriptions, not canned job descriptions that they find on the internet, or 2006 Archer study job descriptions that they look at and go, yep, looks right. Because things have changed and morphed so much that they really are two big pieces that go together to make a valid survey study. And then my point, and it's not popular opinion, I can tell you now, anytime you try to do an internal salary study, everybody's gonna discount it, because they're gonna say, well, you like them better than me, or you just really didn't look at my stuff, or you don't know what I do, or you're looking out for you instead of me. Internal salary studies are impossible to get accepted
And
in
even
a large
the
group.
job descriptions, when we had that one done years ago, which I thought they did a very good job, they did a questionnaire, and then they did the job description. They didn't let our people do the job description.
And it's
They
a
did
20-page questionnaire.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we should just at least look at the firms and talk to them. You'd be surprised what kind of knowledge that, and their approach to how they do those is very.
It's detailed.
It is very detailed. And obviously, some companies are better than others. Then you try to implement that, you implement it to where our current people are, and then to new people coming in. Yes, there'll be some elected officials that probably won't do it or won't stand by it, but the majority of our employees will be on it. And that's what I would look at.
What would really be interesting is if you made elected officials do job descriptions
And they should. And we asked.
and
them
how
to
much
bring
time
it.
they spend on the job.
Did they spend?
Oh, on their job, well, we had to exclude the elected officials. We didn't need job descriptions on the elected
Okay.
officials. You look at the state statute,
My question was, what do you do with that after you get that information? Do you go into a grid system?
they make the grid too, based on the market for those job descriptions.
So really, if I'm going back to capital request,
We're done.
on,
What page was that on?
120, like on Greg's, if we don't need the John Deere, we don't need the snow pusher, we don't need the tires for the Bobcat, or do we keep the Bobcat, is that we use for?
I think you really need Greg here to talk
Yeah,
about that
okay.
stuff. so-
But the clock, I mean, I assume that's the original works from, I don't know if they've been replaced since the 1890s or not. But I think, I know it wouldn't be cheap, but I think we just need to go to modern,
Digital?
yeah, and just, so that it works. But I know Greg was sending people over there a couple times a week to try to adjust that. And I think it's probably
Adjust what? What are you talking
the clock. I'm back to the clock, the bell tower.
Let me give, was it Lamar, was that his name, or was that the guy that got me the name of the other guy? Because he went up there, he did some cleaning, he did some maintenance on it. There's not been maintenance done on it in 10 years probably, maybe longer. We looked at getting a mechanical drive up there and stuff.
Yeah.
We looked at, some people wanted to haul the clock off and do all the
No.
fixing and stuff, and basically been advised not to let that thing leave the building. But it's,
Okay, so would you
I'm gonna look
track
up-
him down and see, because,
I'm gonna look
I
up
know my predecessor, he said that clock's right twice a day.
He came up with a couple of Amish or Mennonite guys, and they did a bunch of
Yeah.
cleaning in it, charged us very reasonable rates, and it worked for a
Well,
long
if we
time, so.
can, yeah, if we can.
I'd like
we
to have
just-
him come up every
We
year
need
and
to
just
do
do it.
something with the bell. I
I'll
know
take a
that's
look at
not-
that.
That's not, okay, so Jeff's.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna go back in my files and see who I need to
And
get a hold of
I'm
again.
gonna-
I didn't know that
I'm
it
gonna
had
get with
quit every day.
Greg on the HVAC for here.
We could drop off on the Carnegie building, this parking lot and driveway. That's a done deal now, right?
It still hasn't been encumbered, I don't think, right?
I don't think so.
Well, I mean,
Or was that
Stair
part of
replacement's
that?
done, repave's done.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Greg can help us with a lot more detail on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
tomorrow,
All right,
if
all
that's
right.
okay.
That's fine.
He's not calling.
Okay. No, the courts, I don't even.
Do we have anybody from tomorrow we can jump on today? Or you just want
You
to
do
call it
mine.
done?
Judy had sent an email saying she was ready to come up today if you wanted.
Yeah, send you-
I don't know if you really want to do that, because it was advertised for her to be up here.
Uh,
I mean, it's up to you guys.
It's under budget hearings.
We could do yours.
It's in general, budget hearings is just budget hearings.
Since you're here.
Mine won't take very long.
Since you're here, yeah.
Okay.
That would be like.
Unless y'all wanna
first
finish
one,
earlier.
Page 25.
No.
Don't
Sorry, Mark.
think
I
I'm
gotta
as-
break you in the right way here.
That wasn't even a button. That was cool.
And I'm not asking for anything in new, other than I think, I don't know why I put $50 extra on meeting travels and dues, I guess just to round it up.
Publication.
And, no, everything else is the same as last year's budget request. Salaries, again, for my office, it's just the 4%. COLA, I do agree with Larry and Steve, certainly, on most of their points. As it applies to my office, though, I've got 2 employees. Lisa's new. I think I got her in at what I think is a good salary. And then Liz, since we had money in the budget, we gave her a raise this year, so I think she's good. So really, I don't know that you can exclude me from any,
Well, not to pick on you,
additional
but your chief
money
deputy auditor.
If you want.
The
I
chief
mean, I think
deputy
my
got,
salaries are good.
had a significant amount over top of what other chief deputies got
Well,
from before, so.
it's always been that way. In fact, Lisa makes at least 4,000 to 5,000 less than Jennifer did when she left, so I dropped that down.
But we increased it, right, I think when Kristen did the study part of it, that's when we increased that position. It wasn't in with the other chief deputies, so.
I think the chief deputy auditor has a statutory requirement that none of the other chief deputies has.
Right.
They-
There's some
the chief
minimum
deputy has to meet the
qualifications for
qualifications.
the chief deputy auditor right, exactly.
Has to match yours,
All the
right?
other ones, I think the other offices,
I'm sorry?
It was waived when Lisa came in.
It was?
Yeah, the job description was altered and there was a requirement that was waived.
oh, the actual accounting degree, yeah. But Lisa
Well,
has
the
plenty of
statute,
experience.
I'm talking about
No.
the statute.
Yeah, the statute says
Familiarity with training, education,
experience.
experience.
Yeah, yeah, and she definitely meets all 3
Okay.
of those.
Right.
But yeah, that's why, my understanding, that's why this chief deputy salary's been higher than the others, because of that statutory requirement. You look at the others, chief deputies, and it's mainly just, you gotta be 21 years old and a resident of Cole County, or
So
something like that.
I wasn't
Yeah.
picking on you on it, I'm just saying, if there was an adjustment made a few years ago on it, and, you know, I'd venture to say that the other elected officials would come up here and say, and I mean, I would do it for our finance office and our HRs, yeah, they should get more than other chief deputies, because they have to know election law or whatever, so I think there's arguments on both
So they
sides
have
of
to
it.
put up
so.
with us.
Well, that's, yeah.
That's where the line.
I mean, that's.
That should be hazard pay.
Well, I just think it'd be difficult to fill this position. at,
I do too. I
anything
was
less.
tickled pink when we got you, Lisa. Yeah,
So-
so.
Anyway, that's.
It worked out very
that's all.
smoothly, the transition, you know, so.
Yeah, you weren't even
And you had a
asking for
hard
more on it.
campaign, had such
Picking
a
on
hard
it.
campaign, but, no, I think this is, because I really was worrying with Kristen leaving. And
Well, I was asking
So-
her historic knowledge of.
Yeah, so it's-
Cole County, like.
it's been- yeah.
Salaries and stuff. That was difficult for me coming in.
Yeah,
The salary part of
this
this
work, this
budget,
was,
but,
this was smooth.
Those are great transitions. I mean, where you came from, treasurer's office, and now you're from that, and then the auditing side.
Kristen's better looking than you, but.
Well, of course. She's a lot younger than me, too.
Well, we could call it good for today and be done. or-
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Judy's actually on the list for tomorrow, and that's what's published out there.
Yeah, so we
I hate
better,
to do that.
Mock's
we will-
next.
We will,
Mock's next.
we will, no.
We could probably move her up in the scale. I mean,
You have to look it
everything will
up.
move up a little bit.
Yeah.
Things don't really matter, I think.
Yeah.
Unless you've been through the budget, you have any other questions we can address today, we can do that. Otherwise, we can reconvene tomorrow.
I'm looking for my Porsche 911.
It's not in here, I didn't see it.
Yeah. Find some place to put that, Mark.
The health insurance fund tomorrow.
Portion of it.
What's, we could do that today or not?
Well, it's on
Are
there
you-
for Thursday, I think.
Oh,
last day.
oh, that's on for Thursday? I'm sorry.
What's that? Oh,
Health insurance.
Yeah, the agenda's not up on our file
Yeah,
yet.
it is Thursday, yeah, but I don't know. I'm just trying to knock some things off.
Do you want to do that before we adjourn?
How much in there? We can
No
do.
reason.
Why don't we get
Okay,
it out?
okay.
I mean, I don't think anybody
Okay.
will be here for that one.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's
Trustee wants somebody
basically
here.
it.
Well, she said if we wanted somebody to come, she'd be more than willing.
I think, we've met with
Joe?
Wall Street, right? A time or two. They've been here, so it shouldn't be
No.
a lot of new, or is there some newness here that we didn't know about before?
No, I'm still waiting on the stop loss final. thing
Okay.
that and I'll bring that through a commission meeting to you guys to sign off on that. So, other than that, we're ready to go with next year new insurance cards because of our switch from the prescription part to Smith RX. So, we're going forward with that. I mean, I don't think I was clear enough when we talked about that. Health insurance cost is going up for 2023. That's, you guys voted to keep the pricing the same. So you guys are footing the bill for more of the cost for our employees for next year.
The cost is going up for the county.
Yeah.
It is not going up for the county employee.
Right,
Yeah.
All right.
right. So,
And except for those who desire to have vision coverage, their small premium is going to be small plus a little more.
40 cents or 70 cents.
Prescription was the one that blew
and
my
vision
mind.
was always
though.
on the employee anyway.
Right, and that was
They don't
op-
have to take it if they feel like.
Right,
it's
that's
safe.
optional.
So, and this fund then, the money goes in there from the different departments.
What page are we on?
48.
48.
It goes in there from the different departments. We did not raise the cost for the different departments either. This fund is gonna absorb that additional cost, not Road and Bridge's budget, not the sheriff's budget. We're keeping that cost the same for the employee and for their budget. But this fund will absorb that increase, if that makes sense.
Yes, we will carry forward at least 3 million, probably more, maybe more, to next year in this fund. So it's got a very healthy reserve of let's see, projected activity expenses for this year, right at 3 million. So we've got enough reserve to cover the normal
So how would
year's
you,
worth of expenses. So.
how would you spend that down, like in a one-time cost? Or would you just reduce the rates 1 year or something if you're trying to keep it at 3 million? Is that our objective?
I mean, we're pretty steady now. It's been about that for it had grown ever since we started self-funding. It had grown a little bit every year. This past year, it stayed pretty steady at the same amount every month. It's been the same amount. So our cost for what we're paying, for the stop loss that we're paying, and for the actual claims, all under 75,000 that we're paying out, I think we're plateauing. Now, does that mean next year we won't have 7 or 8 people get up to the 75,000 mark? We could.
Did we raise that number from 75 to something else?
No, it was 50, and we
Okay.
raised it to 75 about 3 years ago.
I thought
It
there
was
was
50
some.
when we started.
I thought there was some discussion about.
There was a proposal that could be an option.
We had, we
Oh,
had
I-
discussed it,
Okay.
but
But our exposure out there leaves that to, it's all numbers at that point. And we can't really decide that until we have the stop loss amount.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's what it's unknown yet.
Yeah.
Well, you
So-
raise a good question, Jeff. I don't know how big that number should be to be comfortable. It's just that a catastrophic event we could absorb with that kind of, I mean, if a whole group of us, employees for either, some catastrophe comes along and causes us to, the whole room hits the 75,000 instead of 3 or 4 out of the whole 400. That we could absorb it.
Well, since my buddy
One
Chris
time,
has
but
had
then we'd be
back
back to
surgery,
zero
I'm gonna
again.
have back surgery next
Then you
year.
have to raise the rates
So,
to
Yeah.
all different.
I might have what Debbie had.
And to the
Well-
various funds, you know.
Yeah, and that's what we're
road
trying to get
bridge
at.
and general revenue, everybody.
Is there a way to
If
pass
that
it?
happened, we'd have to kick in more money.
Is there a way to pass it back to the employee somehow, or to, I don't know, maybe somebody that's in a bad spot and having more come out of their pocket or something, able to help them from that fund? And I don't know, I'm
Well,
just
you could,
grasping at
you could,
straws.
you could
You're setting
reduce what the,
precedent
you could
there that-
reduce what the employee pays for their dependents.
And, you know, if they're.
That would
We're
you
already
would-
past that for 23, but in the future, you can talk about that, because we've already set the rates, and you've set everything for.
I think competition-wise, when you have an employer pay 100% of the health insurance of the employee, that's more than, that's rare.
Yeah, we're
In
way
governmental,
above.
it's rare.
Oh, yes, it is. We have kept that standard.
Right.
Through a lot of state governments have pushed some of that cost to their employees. And we've even stepped up to where we're paying 50% of the dependent costs, which we were only about at 15%. Now we're paying about 50%. So we've stepped up what we.
Yeah, we did step it up
Yeah.
on the,
So, I mean, if
And
you want to
the
put more
dependents.
into wellness, you want to put more into different things like that, through the health department's help of different programs or something, you can look into that.
Well,
That
somewhere,
would benefit our employees. you know.
somewhere down the road, I think we still have in health, don't we, or do we take out the nurse practitioner? I think maybe we took that out, but, you know, at one time
It
we had
wasn't
talked
here.
about maybe having a nurse practitioner, and our employees and their families could actually go to that nurse, you know, say like from 8 to 10 in the morning, nurse practitioner takes care of county employees and their families. And then from 10 on,
It just-
Now, we are reimbursing the health department for a little bit, right?
Yeah, the
10,000.
wellness girls
Is
that
that the
will-
wellness girls?
because I know Scholastic
Or, no,
has
that's
a
something else.
nurse
Yeah.
practitioner.
The wellness is
Or,
in the wellness.
Yeah. What is that? I forget.
I forget it, which ladies they are, but they are,
Sabrina Beck is one of them.
what she's doing, but.
She's the head of.
So you could do a
wellness
nurse
committee.
practitioner, and it would be free for,
but why hire one? Just contract one out at the hospital, and if you go to the hospital and use it, then we pay for it instead of, or at the urgent care, then we pay for it instead of having to house it somewhere and having to have that employee. So I like the idea of doing something like that, and it actually encourages them to go use a nurse practitioner instead of going to the emergency room, and really does save us money in the long room.
Well,
Nurse
then-
nurse 3 works
then they
out
can
on
actually
$10,000.
Is that the
treat the public and you charge them a
They're
fee.
already-
You charge them a fee.
They're already doing the public, so.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's
So you
just,
can
we're
think
at the
about
3
it.
million, it's healthy. I'm not talking about spending it down, but are there ways to do it? And dependents, you know, if they got a family and especially young adults not making the best money in certain areas of the county, you got 2 or
And if
3
you have
kids.
children, they're sick all the
It
time.
helps, but then what about the ones that don't have kids? You know, we've done our time, we've been through it, so try to help everybody. It's not all gonna be equal, but fairly, so. And that may be something we look at next year, then, like I said.
Or I could look at other policies, you know.
Free
short-term
ambulance rides.
disability, long-term disabilities, you know, different things that you can
They do not
offer.
pay for the ambulance rides. I did not realize that was not covered.
Ambulance is a whole different
It
issue
is.
for across the world. I mean, there's no option for you to belong to a network or to a group. There's no discounts involved in that, so the
Yeah.
ambulance.
Got a network.
Yes, because
Okay.
they don't need to belong to a network. 'cause
Hop
they're
in
the
the
only
truck
game
with my
in
broken
town.
legs, I'll drive myself.
Huh?
So I'll hop in my truck with my broken legs and drive myself. I can't,
I've done
I
that.
can't pay for the
I've done that.
ambulance.
So,
Recruited
probably
neighbor
want
or
to change
what?
the number a little bit once you get.
Come
the
get me.
Stop loss. Would we
Kathy
change
just
our-
throw you
Yeah,
in
we
the
could
back
change
door.
that.
Probably
It's
shoot
all
me, you
mixed
know.
into
Got a
that.
broken leg.
2.7.
Okay, that's what they do to the
You got
horses,
ins-
right?
You got insurance?
He's not any good anymore. Broken leg.
Yeah.
Contingency. Okay, so it's
Yeah.
not, probably no reason to change any
I would think
numbers.
not. We can move it out of contingency if we need.
I think it's good.
Okay, so that one's kind of, we
I
can
think
cross
we're
that
good.
one off. So you guys want to stop there?
I'm fine either way. I'll keep plowing through
I'm
it if you
done.
want to.
I haven't done nothing. Okay.
I brought, well, no, I didn't bring my Snickers along. We probably all stopped.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring some snacks when we're doing the 8 to 3s. When I got notice on those
That's the next
yesterday, 8 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon.
That's
It's
all
like-
up to you guys.
It's
but
like, whoa.
You can
What are you gonna cater in lunch?
cut those short.
Yeah, and cocktails.
Oh, yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Don't put that on.
No.
I used to be a bartender, right?
Don't worry, it's on the YouTube recording.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, really.
I'm gonna get Dawn in here.
I mean, the Shirley Temples?
Yeah, sure, and Roy Rogers.
Yeah. Mocktails, is that what they call those?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to get Roy Rogers.
You're
Okay, anything else then?
Nope, I'll see what I
Waiting
can.
For Mr. Wheeler, start off
So-
tomorrow.
Harry, you got anything else?
I'm saving all my
Okay.
fire for
Then
tomorrow.
I would ask for a motion to recess until 4:30.
I'd make a motion to recess until 4:30.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm just recessing. I'm not standing in recess. We're just
We go out in the
recessing.
playground and.
All the playground. I don't know. I miss the good old days of the playground, getting a soccer ball upside the head. There's nothing. I think every kid will experience that one time. The ears
Yeah,
ring
we're
for about an hour.
getting this, as long as it's. And Mac, that's.
They already voted.